Chapter 441. Growing Soil. Lu Ping was stunned for a moment before he reacted. He exclaimed, "Growing soil." Luan Yu nodded and laughed lightly. Indeed, it is a natural treasure that can shorten the growth period of plants. It is said to be one of the few natural treasures in the world of cultivation. The growing soil was not a spiritual object of heaven and earth. Instead, it was a mysterious object of heaven and earth. However, this mysterious object of heaven and earth did not have the same effect as other mysterious objects of heaven and earth that could be used by cultivators to condense minor magical powers. However, the growing soil had another use that was regarded as heaven-defying in the cultivation world. It could greatly shorten the time needed for plants to mature. Because of this use, growing soil's status in the world of cultivation was no less than that of a heaven-tier natural treasure. Lu Ping pointed at the black jade stone on the ground and asked in disbelief, "You mean to say that there is growing soil hidden within this black jade stone?" Luan Yu laughed. "Although I do not have a magical power like the three pure eyes, the Woodluan tribe is most proficient in cultivating spirit grass and spirit trees. Naturally, we have a secret technique to identify a treasure like growing soil." Lu Ping nodded. The Woodluan tribe naturally had their own special abilities. This was something that Lu Ping believed. Lu Ping looked at the black jade stone and said, "Is this growing soil mixed within the black jade stone, or is it wrapped within?" If it was mixed within, then in order to obtain the growing soil, they would have to grind the black jade stone into pieces and extract the growing soil. If it was just wrapped within, then they would only need to split the black jade stone, and it would not damage the spirit of the black jade stone. After all, this earth-type natural treasure was of the upper mystic level, and it would be perfect for Debao to smelt in the future. Luan Yu laughed. "Don't worry. The gains this time will definitely be worth the elixir that Fornax Laozu spent on breaking through to the Dharma stage." Luan Yu carefully cut the black jade stone into two halves. The center of the black jade stone was indeed hollow, but there was a fist-sized yellow ball of earth within it. This was the famous growing soil of the cultivation world. Among the natural treasures that corresponded to the living soil, there was a kind of earth attribute natural treasure called the living soil. Although this kind of natural treasure did not have the special effect of stimulating the growth of spirit herbs like the living soil, it had the characteristic of endless growth. It was said that if a small piece of the living soil was cut off, as long as there were enough spirit chi and spirit stones, it could be cultivated into a complete piece of living soil. Of course, the spirit chi and spirit stones required would be an astronomical figure. The living soil was an earth type, mid-grade heaven-ranked spiritual earth of the world. It was even more valuable than the profound essence heavy water that Lu Ping had refined. However, in the world of cultivation, this treasure was only on par with the living soil. From this, one could see just how valuable the living soil was in the world of cultivation. Luan Yu sniffed the living soil, then tossed it to Lu Ping and said, "The quality is not bad. At the very least, this piece of living soil should be enough for those treasures of yours and that 3,000-year-old spirit herb garden of yours." When Lu Ping saw that Luan Yu had casually tossed it away, he hastily and carefully caught it. He anxiously said, Hey, this is the living soil. Every single particle is priceless. How can you be so disrespectful?" Luan Yu was taken aback. He pointed at Lu Ping and said with a smile, "I thought that you, the boy of many treasures, would be used to seeing all kinds of rare treasures. You should be as calm as still water. Who would have thought that this piece of living soil would cause you to lose your composure like this?" Lu Ping could not be bothered with Luan Yu. In his mind, he was already thinking about how to use this fist-sized piece of living soil. Luan Yu, who was standing to the side, was silent for a moment. Then, he said, "Actually, I have something to ask of you this time." Lu Ping was somewhat stunned. He looked at Luan Yu, then straightened his body and said with a solemn expression, "Brother Luan Yu, please speak." Luan Yu chuckled and said, "My cultivation has already advanced to the third layer of core forging. I think that in another 3 to 5 years, I will be able to refine a spiritual object and advance to the middle stage of core forging. However, the identity of my Wuduan clan is too sensitive. In the cultivation world, cultivators of the same level are fine. If I were to encounter a cultivator with a higher cultivation than me, it would be a disaster. Therefore, I will have to ask Brother Lu to take care of this spiritual object. Lu Ping was startled. When he raised his head to look outside the hall, he saw the lush spirit monster peach tree at the foot of the small mountain. He suddenly realized, Brother Wan Yu is interested in the spiritual wood on the spirit monster peach tree. When Wan Yu saw that Lu Ping understood his intentions, he bluntly said, I am ashamed, it is exactly so. The spiritual wood is one of the most suitable spiritual objects for monster clan cultivators to use to refine a gold core. Previously, I had a simple communication with the spirit monster peach tree. The spiritual wood is no longer of much use to it, but the spirit monster peach tree is, after all, Brother Lu's spiritual pet. Therefore, I must obtain Brother Lu's consent. Lu Ping pondered for a moment. This piece of spiritual wood was a piece of low-grade earth step spiritual wood. Moreover, it was very heavy. Originally, it was prepared by Lu Ping for Hu Lily to advance to the middle stage of the core forging realm. But, as Wan Yu said, this piece of spiritual wood was most suitable for monster clan cultivators. Compared to other earth step spiritual woods, the spiritual wood was undoubtedly the most unsuitable for Hu Lily. Of course, even if it was unsuitable, it was still better than Hu Lily refining a profound spiritual wood. What's more, Hu Lily was proficient in the Tao of arrays, so the growth of her cultivation was very slow. Even with the dissolving heart pill that Lu Ping had left for her, which forcibly increased her cultivation to the third stage of the core forging realm, it was impossible for her to accumulate enough foundation to refine an earth-step spiritual object to advance to the middle stage of the core forging realm. At that time, Lu Ping would just have to find another wood-attribute earth-step spiritual object for her. At the very least, the amount of azure billow water in Lu Ping's hands was equivalent to 3 times the amount of ordinary low-grade earth-step spiritual water. It was more than enough to exchange for an earth-step spiritual object. Although Wan Yu had been living in seclusion in the House of Gold all these years, he had also been used by Lu Ping as a free alchemist for several years. One must know that Wan Yu was an out-and-out alchemy grandmaster. Because of this, Lu Ping was able to free himself from a portion of the sex alchemy tasks and devote more time to cultivation. Moreover, the large spiritual grassland that had been opened up in the House of Gold was also Wan Yu's achievement. This kind of help to Lu Ping could not be said to be small. That's fine, Lu Ping made up his mind and said, Brother Wan Yu can take this psychic wood and use it first. Wan Yu was naturally overjoyed. Together with Lu Ping, he arrived in front of the spirit demon peach tree and was about to pluck the psychic wood from its body. Unexpectedly, when the spirit demon peach tree saw Lu Ping, its branches and leaves shook with a rustling sound. It seemed that it was somewhat unwilling. Wan Yu was good at communicating with plants and couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. He asked, Little peach tree, didn't we agree before? Why are you going back on your words now? Although the spirit demon peach tree had unlocked its spiritual wisdom, it could not speak and could only use its weak consciousness to express its sorrow. Lu Ping thought for a moment and said, Little peach tree, I've been collecting the cultivation method that you want all these years. However, you should also know that the cultivation method for spirit demon trees is very rare. I also can't let others know that you're in my hands. Otherwise, not only me, but even you will be in big trouble. That's why until now, I haven't been able to collect a cultivation method that can allow you to cultivate. However, this time, I've found this. As Lu Ping spoke, he let the spirit demon peach tree's consciousness feel the growing soil in his hand. As expected, the spirit demon peach tree emitted waves of joyful emotions. It seemed to be saying to Lu Ping, I'm hungry. Lu Ping smiled slightly and broke off a corner of the growing soil that was the size of a fist. Then, he crushed this small piece of growing soil into powder and scattered it around the roots of the spirit demon peach tree. The soil at the roots of the spirit demon peach tree immediately stirred up, covering this thin layer of growing soil under the soil layer. As if seeing immediate results, Lu Ping seemed to feel that the spirit demon peach tree seemed to be full of spirit. The flower buds on the branches also became bright and beautiful, as if they would bloom at any time. Wan Yu received the psychic wood as she wished, and Lu Ping crushed a small piece of growing soil and scattered it into the white jade lotus pond. In the past, Lu Ping received the rank 9 white jade lotus king in the land of 100 flowers and refined it together with the 12 gentian beads into Lu Ping's life source artifact. And Lu Ping chose 3 of the 9 lotus seeds from the white jade lotus king and placed them into the pond that only had 1/3 of the kuei water essence left. After many years of breeding, the remaining 1/3 of the kuei water essence had once again shrunk to the shallow bottom of the pond. And the 3 lotus seeds also revealed a few lotus leaves, appearing soft and weak in the pond. Lu Ping looked at these 3 lotus flowers and sighed. This place was not like the land of 100 flowers where after thousands of years of breeding, it could automatically condense the kuei water essence. If he wanted these 3 lotus flowers to continue to grow, he must collect the kuei water essence, a rare treasure of heaven and earth. Lu Ping sprinkled a small piece of growing soil under the golden nut tree. 17 of the 36 golden nuts on this tree had matured, and Lu Ping had refined them into golden resilience pills. Now, the strength of Lu Ping's body was comparable to a low-level artifact without the use of Jin Yuan. The rest of the growing soil was mainly sprinkled by Lu Ping on the small lonely mountain in the spirit grass garden that had been opened by Zhongxian Laozu for planting 3,000 years of spirit grass. The rest was also sprinkled in several newly opened important spirit grass gardens. Finally, in Lu Ping's hands, there was also a piece of growing soil that was about 1/4 of the size. Lu Ping carefully stored it in a jade marrow box, in case of emergencies. Another half a year passed. Lu Ping sat cross-legged in the cultivation room of the palace on the top of the small lonely mountain. He lifted the lid of the Lin Chuan cauldron, and the blue water inside was collected into a jade bowl. Then, a round and plump spirit pill slowly flew out of the Lin Chuan cauldron and was directly put into a jade marrow box by Lu Ping. And in this jade marrow box, there were already 2 spirit pills. In order to refine these 3 bone-forging pills, Lu Ping had picked 5 spirit monster peaches from the spirit monster peach tree. Originally, there were 13 spirit monster peaches left, but now there were only 8. This caused the small peach tree to complain. When it saw Lu Ping, it was a pitiful scene. The branches and leaves trembled all over, making Lu Ping feel quite embarrassed. Fortunately, after wasting dozens of 3,000 years of spirit grass and hundreds of 1,000 years of spirit grass, Lu Ping finally succeeded in refining these 3 bone-forging pills of the half-step Dharma realm. With these 3 bone-forging pills, Lu Ping could completely increase his body strength to the level of a mid-level artifact. Chapter 442. Lu Ping's seclusion only lasted for a year before he had no choice but to come out again. This was because Hu Lili had already filled the entire Huangli Island with restrictions and arrays, preparing for Reverend Guoxianshan to use the art of moving mountains and filling seas. Now that Reverend Guoxianshan had once again returned to Huangli Island, Lu Ping naturally couldn't hide in his cave dwelling and go into seclusion. Fortunately, Tianlin Laozu was on Huangli Island. Although Lu Ping was the master, he was only accompanying him. Reverend Guoxianshan was obviously very knowledgeable about geomancy. After setting foot on Huangli Island, he looked towards Lu Ping's cave dwelling in surprise and said, "I didn't expect that Huangli Island would rise to another level after a year or 2. I'm afraid there's already half a neutral spiritual vein on the island. I've heard that many of our sect's idol core forging cultivators also go out to hunt through Huangli Island. Even I'm envious of your achievements." Lu Ping smiled and said, "Martial uncle must be joking. Martial uncle is in charge of the sect, how could he be interested in this disciple's belongings?" Reverend Guoxianshan said meaningfully, "You really have a lot of belongings." Lu Ping nodded as if he understood something and said, "This disciple is naturally not a miser. Only by being willing and willing can I obtain more. Enlightened Master Guo Xianshan pointed at Lu Ping and scolded jokingly, your shameless behavior reminds me of a certain someone. But you don't have to worry, the sect's ancestors have a good impression of you. Even if others have their opinions, you don't have to worry about it. It's just that this sedan chair has to be carried by everyone. Reverend Guo Xianshan pointed at Lu Ping and said with a smile, this is for you. Seeing that Lu Ping understood his words, Reverend Guo Xianshan took out a storage pouch out of nowhere and threw it to Lu Ping, saying, this is for you. Lu Ping was surprised, but he still scanned the storage pouch and couldn't help but say, why is there so much? Reverend Guo Xianshan looked at Lu Ping with a hint of ridicule and said, what, the great treasure boy is also confused by a mere few hundred spirit stones. Lu Ping was speechless and said, Martial uncle, this is 500 upper-grade spirit stones. Even with the spirit mine on Frost Island, there shouldn't be so many upper-grade spirit stones, right? Even though Lu Ping was exaggerating, he couldn't wait to put these 500 upper-grade spirit stones into his storage pouch as soon as possible. In the past year, in order to increase his cultivation, Lu Ping had set up the Great Spirit Transformation formation twice in a row, and each time, he used 36 upper-grade spirit stones. In addition to the spirit stones needed to refine medicinal pills during this period of time, the 100 or so upper-grade spirit stones that Lu Ping had accumulated with great difficulty were all gone in an instant. In the end, he had no choice but to use some middle-grade spirit stones to make up for it. Reverend Guo Xianshan smiled and said, during the last trip to Frost Island, you, Xian Lei, Xian Shang, and the others were each rewarded with 200 upper-grade spirit stones for discovering a large spirit mine. During that time, you also discovered a middle-grade spirit mine on your own. This has never happened before in our sect, so the sect decided to reward you with another 200 upper-grade spirit stones. Last year, you forced Crystal Palace's Zhang Shiji to not even see your shadow with just 2 swords, greatly increasing our sect's prestige. Therefore, the sect rewarded you with another 100 upper-grade spirit stones. Reverend Guo Xianshan paused for a moment and said, originally, the sect wanted to give you some other benefits, but senior sister Tian Ling said that all the rewards will be given according to the amount of upper-grade spirit stones. Therefore, this is what you will get. Lu Ping praised his teacher's brilliance and strength in his heart. As he put the 500 upper-grade spirit stones into his storage ring, he said humbly, this is what a disciple should do. From afar, Hu Lili came over and reported to Reverend Guo Xianshan that the formations and restrictions required to cast the art of mountain moving and sea filling had all been prepared. Reverend Guo Xianshan nodded and walked towards the eye of the formation. At the core of the formation that Hu Lili had spent a great amount of time and precious materials to set up, Tianlin Laozu and Reverend Chu Xuanqing had been waiting for a long time. When Reverend Chu saw Reverend Guo Xianshan walking over, he looked to his left and right and asked with a strange smile, since senior brother Guo is going to show his might, why didn't junior brother Xianyin come today? Reverend Guo Xianshan was taken aback and said, it seems that junior brother Xianyin has been busy lately. There hasn't been any news about him in Heaven's Spirit Mountain for a long time. Oh, Reverend Chu was also a little curious and said, this is interesting. Junior brother Xianyin has rarely left Heaven's Spirit Mountain for the past few decades, and now is the critical moment for him to achieve Golden Core. If it wasn't for something urgent, he wouldn't have left Heaven's Spirit Mountain. Reverend Chu Xuanqing saw that Lu Ping was thinking about something, so he asked, Little Lu, junior brother Xuanin's disciple has a good relationship with you. Have you heard any news about junior brother Xianyin from his disciple? Reverend Chu Xuanqing knew that Lu Ping was on good terms with Yin Xianchu and the others. After Lu Ping became an alchemy grandmaster, the pills that these friends needed to cultivate were usually refined by Lu Ping. Huangli Island had also become a frequent destination for his friends. Therefore, Reverend Chu Xuanqing asked this question. Ah. When Lu Ping heard the two of them talk about Reverend Xianyin, Lu Ping remembered the conversation he overheard between Reverend Xianyin and another unfamiliar cultivator at the bottom of the sea. Reverend Xuanin's disappearance during this period of time could also have something to do with the matter of avenging Reverend Xuanin's wife. However, it was clear that Lu Ping couldn't reveal this matter. Reverend Chu Xuanqing suddenly asked, so Lu Ping could only answer, how would this disciple know? Reverend Chu Xuanqing was actually just asking. He wasn't sure that Lu Ping knew the whereabouts of Reverend Xianin. Seeing that Lu Ping didn't know, he didn't continue asking about this matter. Reverend Chu Xuanqing was a 9th-level core forging cultivator who was about to become a golden core cultivator. With this level of cultivation, besides Dharma adepts, almost no one in the North Sea could pose a threat to him. Moreover, Reverend Xianin was proficient in the art of concealment and assassination. Cultivators of the same level would only be afraid of him. Who would dare to easily plot against him? After greeting Tian Ling Laozu, Reverend Guoxianshan solemnly ascended the altar that Hu Lili and the others had built. As Reverend Guoxianshan walked towards the top of the altar, a treasure that looked like a mountain slowly rose from the top of Reverend Guoxianshan's head. The mountain gradually enlarged in mid-air. Lu Ping felt his feet sink, as if there was a force pressing down on his body, trying to imprison him to the ground. Lu Ping raised his head to look at the mountain above the altar that was growing larger and larger. He knew that this was the effect of Reverend Guoxianshan's moving mountains and filling seas technique. When he turned to look at Tian Ling Laozu and Reverend Chu, both of them had a calm expression on their faces. It was obvious that this pressure was not even worth mentioning to them. On the other side, Hu Lili seemed to have some understanding of this moving mountains and filling seas technique. At this moment, she had already hidden tens of feet away. Lu Ping's body trembled with true essence and a blue mist spread out from his body. The mist immediately returned to his body. The pressure on his body immediately relaxed and he regained control of his body. Not far away, Reverend Chu Xuanqing and Tian Ling Laozu conversed. Reverend Chu Xuanqing sighed with emotion and said, "This kid's true essence is very strong." Senior Marshal Brother Guo's flying mountain treasure is not something that ordinary mid-core forging cultivators can casually break free from. However, Ancestor Tian Lin was a little puzzled. Compared to his quintessential essence, which far surpasses cultivators of the same level, I'm more interested in the strength of this kid's fleshly body. Looks like this kid has quite a lot of good stuff on him. He's even collected some rare elixirs that can strengthen the fleshly body. The strength of his fleshly body is almost no weaker than a mid-grade magic item. At this moment, a great pressure suddenly burst out from the center of the altar. The entire altar and the surrounding arrays and restrictions seemed to have been activated by Reverend Guoxianshan. A gray light flickered and the entire Huangli Island suddenly trembled. Although the cultivators entering and leaving Huangli Island had already been notified, when Reverend Guoxianshan's moving mountains and filling seas technique began to display its earth-shattering might, the cultivators on the island were shocked. Taoist Master Guoxianshan wore a solemn expression on his face. With a stretch of his right hand, a short black whip appeared in his hand. Following which, the shadow of the whip pierced through the air. A series of muffled explosions could be heard from the distant horizon of the sea. As the short whip lashed down, the entire Huangli Island trembled violently. This was the power of Reverend Guoxianshan's natal magic treasure, the mountain driving whip. The mountain driving whip was a spirit-nurturing magic treasure that had been refined with 7 Tao treasures. Under the effects of the moving mountains and filling seas technique, it could slowly move an island several tens of li away that had already been connected to Huangli Island's array formation. As Reverend Guoxianshan continued to swing the mountain driving whip in his hand, rings of earthen yellow light fell from the top of the flying mountain peak above his head and spread out towards the distant sea. The altar beneath Guoxianshan's feet released a series of crisp cracking sounds and a huge crack extended from the altar to the ground. In the blink of an eye, Reverend Guoxianshan had lashed out 18 times with the mountain driving whip in his hand. The surface of the altar was already covered with cracks, and even the solid ground underneath the altar had a 1-foot wide crack, slowly extending to a distance of several hundred feet. As the last whip shadow fell, Huangli Island once again trembled violently. Muffled rumbling noises came from the distant seabed, as if a giant beast was roaring furiously. Immediately, a small spirit vein from Lu Ping's cave abode was drawn over and temporarily placed at the core of the array formation. It seemed to have replaced the role of Reverend Guoxianshan and the altar. Reverend Guoxianshan slowly walked down from the altar. Just as he was about to leave the altar, the 30 zhang tall altar suddenly collapsed. As if he had already expected this, Reverend Guo turned to Lu Ping and said, "This island should be the one closest to Huangli Island, right? The art of moving the mountains and filling the seas is a long process. Although this divine art is successful, it will take at least a month for the island to move on its own and connect to Huangli Island even with the support of this spirit vein." Lu Ping nodded to show that he understood. He handed over a bottle of medicinal pills with both hands and said, "Martial uncle, please recover your true essence first, then move to the next altar to perform the divine ability." Reverend Guoxianshan laughed and said, "There's no hurry. With the help of the array formation and the altar, we can save most of the trouble. With the true essence in the old man's body, he can perform the mountain-moving sea-filling divine ability again and pull the other island over." However, Reverend Guoxianshan seemed to have thought of something and took the jade bottle from Lu Ping's hand. He opened it and said with joy, "Not bad, it's an extremely rare spirit tempering pill in the late core forging stage. Isn't this pill only refined by the North Seas Liao family? I didn't expect you to have it here." Reverend Chu, who was at the side, had already heard the conversation between the two. He quickly walked over and said, "Little brat Lu Ping can actually refine a spirit tempering pill?" The old man had personally looked for Liao Ruanjia 3 times and only managed to get 1 bottle. "I didn't expect you to already have the pill recipe. This won't do. The old man will immediately gather some spirit herbs for you. You have to refine at least 3 bottles of spirit tempering pill for the old man." Chapter 443. There were a total of 4 altars built on Huangli Island, corresponding to the 4 islands that needed to be moved. The first island was the location of Shengtao's cave, where Lu Ping had found the alchemy inheritance. Jinren Guo first moved this island, and the mountain driving whip produced a total of 18 whip shadows before he completed the mountain driving whip. As for the other 3 islands and reefs, the amount of true yuan and dermic powers expended by Jinren Guo varied according to the distance from Huangli Island and the size of the islands and reefs. The mountain driving whip had produced 27, 36, and the highest number was 49. Even though Jinren Guoxianshan had achieved the 7th grade golden core and was only a step away from the Dharma stage, it still took him 7 days to complete the task. Every time he successfully moved an island, Lu Ping had to temporarily confine a small spirit vein at the altar where Jinren Guo was located. This was also the place where the formation eye of the mountain driving formation was located. After Jinren Guo completed the mountain driving formation, it could replace him to support the operation of the formation and speed up the island's movement in the direction of Huangli Island. Fortunately, the spirit gathering pearl that Lu Ping had buried a small spirit vein a year ago had nurtured another small spirit vein. In addition to the 8 small spirit veins, the total number of spirit veins on Huangli Island was now close to 6 small spirit veins, which was more than enough to support the mountain driving formation. After Jinren Guo completed the mountain driving formation, Lu Ping gave him 2 bottles of spirit tempering pills as a congratulatory gift. He also gave blood condensing pills, spirit water meridian nourishing pills, and dozens of other pills that he had refined for the sect during this period, to be brought back to the sect. After 20 days, the silhouette of the first island could be vaguely seen in the distance. A month later, this island finally connected with Huangli Island. After another half a month, the earth vein under the island began to connect with Huangli Island, and the small spirit vein that supported the operation of the formation returned to Lu Ping's cave. At this time, a cultivator named Tian Yu also found the first spiritual gathering place on the land that had just become part of Huangli Island. This was the first time that a spiritual gathering place had been discovered since the spiritual gathering places on Huangli Island had become saturated. More than a year had passed since the reefs were pulled over and the earth veins under the island merged with Huangli Island. With the support of a large number of high-grade spirit stones, the support of several spirit veins, and the continuous supply of spirit pellets, Lu Ping's cultivation base finally made significant progress. He was now moving towards the peak of the fourth layer core forging realm. However, he still wasn't sure when he would be able to break through to the fifth layer. However, inspired by enlightened Master Guo Xuanshan's Fei Lai Peak Mystic Treasure, Lu Ping asked enlightened Master Guo Xianshan for another talisman treasure and completed the third talisman treasure, Landslide. Unfortunately, enlightened Master Guo Xianshan cultivated an earth elemental cultivation method, which was incompatible with Lu Ping's water elemental cultivation method. 5 of the 6 talisman treasures on Fei Lai Peak were pure earth elemental treasures, and only one was a combination of the earth elemental and water elemental treasures. With Landslide's current grade, unless Lu Ping could find spirit materials of higher quality to further upgrade it, it would be extremely difficult to upgrade it into a spirit-connected mystic treasure. In the Carefree Hall at the top of Heaven's Spirit Mountain, Tian Fan, Tian Jiang, Tian Lu, and Tian Lin sat. Tian Fan Laozu looked at Tian Lin Laozu, took out a jade slip from his sleeve, and said, "This is the recipe for the spirit-forging pill that Xianqin collected in the East Sea. It is said that a cultivator from the Crystal Palace found it in Fei Ling Sect's Zhongxian Laozu's cave. Xianqin gave this recipe to Senior Tian Xiang to bring back to the sect. Although this recipe only lists the various spiritual materials needed to refine the spirit-forging pill, it is still valuable." After Tian Jiang and Tian Lu Laozu looked at the recipe, Tian Lin Laozu took it from them expressionlessly, then returned it to Tian Fan Laozu. Tian Fan Laozu handed the recipe directly to Tian Lu Laozu, saying, "This recipe should be given to Junior Tian Lu. The elixir pavilion should make some preparations according to the ingredients listed in the recipe. If our sect is lucky enough to obtain the recipe for the spirit-forging pill, Junior Tian Lu can refine it immediately." Tian Jiang Laozu smiled. Previously, when Xian Ling's sect showed off the recipe for the spirit-forging pill in the North Sea Palace, it must be this item, right? The Crystal Palace only shared a useless jade slip with Xian Ling's sect. Is it worth it for them to be so arrogant? Tian Lin Laozu smiled. "That's not the same. You should know that the 5 great sects of the East Sea visiting the 10 great sects of the North Sea is, to put it bluntly, a form of assistance from the 5 great sects of the East Sea. On the surface, it's to fight against the monster clan together, but in reality, it's to hope that the North Sea's cultivation world can become the East Sea's vassal. Xian Ling sect and our sect are the sects that the East Sea's sects hope to lead. However, it seems that Xian Ling sect's position in the East Sea's sects is obviously higher than ours. Although our sect has taken advantage of the East Sea's sects to loot a lot of benefits, at least they haven't given us the recipe for the spirit-forging pill." Tian Fan Laozu smiled. "That's perfect. Although the North Sea's cultivation world is led by our sect and Xian Ling sect, the 10 great sects all have mid-stage core forging cultivators, so the gap between the sects isn't too big. If the sects don't have too many differences, Zhen Ling sect and Xian Ling sect may be able to take the lead. However, if the benefits involved are too great and the differences are too serious, then the sects will be in a state of disunity, making the entire North Sea's cultivation world a vassal of the East Sea's sects. Let Xian Ling sect taste the bitter fruit of making the entire North Sea's cultivation world a vassal of the East Sea's sections. For now, we should accumulate our strength and wait and see." Tianlu Laozu glanced at Tian Lin Laozu, then turned to Tian Fan Laozu and asked, "How is Xianqin doing in the East Sea?" Tian Fan Laozu smiled. "You are Xuanqin's teacher. Who knows her better than you? She successfully entered the Dharma stage 2 years ago. If she returns to our sect, she will be called Xianqin Laozu. However, she has joined an organization called Boudoir in the East Sea. This organization is very famous in the East Sea. It seems that they have a great cultivator as their backer, and they are specifically against the Crystal Palace. With Xuanqin's Grandmaster alchemy skills, she is naturally a high-level cultivator in the organization. Otherwise, how could the half-step recipe for the spirit-forging pill that the Crystal Palace obtained be in Xuanqin's hands? Tianjiang Laozu asked nervously, since there is a great cultivator in the boudoir, it must be stronger than our sect. Xuanqin is also a genius, so she is naturally high up in the boudoir. So, is Xuanqin still willing to return to our sect? Tianjiang Laozu's words clearly pointed out what was on the minds of the other Laozu. After a while, Tian Fan Laozu said, since the ancient times, children do not dislike their mothers for being ugly, and dogs do not dislike their families for being poor. Xuanqin is my disciple. Even though she left in anger, Jinling is the place where she grew up for hundreds of years. With her teachers and fellow disciples, I think Xuanqin will understand. After saying this, it seemed that Tian Fan Laozu himself did not have much confidence, so he added, what's more, senior brother Tianxiang is in the fallen secret land. When Xuanqin left East Sea, senior brother Tianxiang immediately guarded the fallen secret land. Now it seems that besides fighting for the right to speak in the fallen secret land for our sect, it is also for Xuanqin. Now that Xuanqin has been sending news back to the cultivation world of the East Sea, and this time she even sent this recipe, I think it must be a problem. Tian Lu Laozu carefully looked at the recipe again and said with some difficulty, not to mention the fact that there is no refining method for this recipe, the spirit herbs used are not ordinary. Also, the most important ingredient, the Wonder Dew, has not been heard of in the cultivation world for nearly 1,000 years. Even if our sect was lucky enough to obtain the Wonder Dew, the Na Chuan cauldron has now been upgraded to a magic treasure cauldron, so it is impossible to refine it on a large scale. It is already very fortunate that we were able to gather one cauldron. Tian Fan Laozu smiled bitterly and said, how could old man not know this? But it is not easy to have this half of the recipe. Don't forget that the reason why Fei Ling sect was exterminated was because this spirit-forging pill was coveted by all sections. Therefore, even this half of the recipe must be kept a secret. Apart from junior brother Tianlu, I think only Xian Yan and Xian Yu, the two alchemy grandmasters who can refine late core forging pills, should know about it. Don't tell anyone else. At this time, Tian Lin Laozu said, I'm afraid Martial Uncle still doesn't know, but Tian Ling's 9th disciple, Lu Ping, can also refine late core forging pills. I don't know where this kid got the Liao family's spirit stabilizing pills, but he refined 3 cauldrons of spirit pills for junior brother Chu. Oh? Tian Fan Laozu looked at Tianlu Laozu in surprise. All the alchemists under Jinling's tutelage were under Tianlu Laozu's jurisdiction. Naturally, Tianlu Laozu knew the most about Lu Ping. Tianlu Laozu stroked his beard and nodded with a smile. This kid's talent in alchemy is no less than Xuanqin's. Tian Fan Laozu waved his hand and said, if that's the case, count this kid in as well. In the North Sea Palace of Huanyu Island, a dozen or so cultivators from the 5 major sects of the East Sea gathered in the main hall of the North Sea Palace to discuss something. The North Sea Palace was used by the various sects of Huanyu Island to receive their guests. Normally, it was only used to receive guests of high status. At this time, although there were close to 20 people in the North Sea Palace, the only ones who could participate in the discussion were the mid-Dharma stage cultivator, Laozu, and the 5 late core forging stage cultivators who were sitting cross-legged beside him. The one who was speaking was Jinren Qin of the Northern Alliance of the East Sea. He was the same Jinren Qin that Lu Ping had met at the Northern Alliance elixir gathering. At this time, Jinren Qin seemed to be expressing his opinion. From this, although it is hard to tell who is better between the North Sea Jinling sect and Xian Ling sect, in terms of 2nd, 3rd, and even 4th generation disciples, Jinling is undoubtedly better. 2 of its 2nd generation disciples have already entered the Dharma stage, and at least 2 of them have already condensed a golden elixir of at least the 7th grade and are about to enter the Dharma stage. On the other hand, Xian Ling sect only has 1 disciple who has entered the Dharma stage. Among the third-generation disciples, this time, the disciples of the 5 major sects of the East Sea and the 10 major sects of the North Sea can see some clues. Xianling sect only won 3 matches, while Zhenling won 4 and drew 1. The other 8 major sects were only lucky enough to win 1 or 2 matches. This was also because we did not want to embarrass the sects of the North Sea too much, so we went easy on them. Therefore, although Zhenling currently does not have much of an advantage, in the long run, Zhenling will definitely surpass Xianling's sect and is the most suitable sect to be the leader of the North Sea cultivation world. Therefore, in the opinion of the old man, the East Sea cultivation world should support Zhenling. Immortal Qin's words were reasonable and the cultivators of the other sects nodded when they heard it. Only Zhang Shiji, the disciple of the Crystal Palace, looked unlucky. Zhang Shiji was unlucky this time. He had won 9 out of 10 matches in the North Sea, but he lost to Zhenling's Water Sword Immortal, wiping away all the glory he had before and after. Zhang Shiji originally thought that after this trip to the North Sea, he could change the view of the high-level cultivators of the Crystal Palace. Unexpectedly, he was defeated by Lu Ping in an extremely aggrieved way. Zhang Shiji could already see how he would be ridiculed when he returned to the Crystal Palace. Although Immortal Qin's statement won the approval of most people, not everyone agreed to let Zhenling be the leader of the North Sea cultivation world. Immortal Ming Shan of the Crystal Palace opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but after thinking for a long time, he could not think of any reason that could overturn Immortal Qin's words. He could only look at Fa Xiang Laozu, who was sitting at the top. This Fa Xiang Laozu was the leader of the 5 major sects of the East Sea's visit to the North Sea cultivation world, Yuan Guang Laozu of the Crystal Palace. Yuan Guang Laozu smiled and said to Immortal Qin, "What martial nephew Qin said is very reasonable, but it is precisely because of this that we cannot support Zhenling to be the leader of the North Sea cultivation world." Immortal Qin was a little puzzled, but the other party was Senior Laozu, a cultivator of the giant Crystal Palace of the East Sea, and he was fully responsible for the visit to the North Sea cultivation world. Immortal Qin did not dare to be negligent, and only said respectfully, "Please enlighten me, Laozu." Ancestor Yuan Guang seemed to understand Immortal Qin's thoughts. He said unhurriedly, "The Zhenling sect has been working hard to build up its strength, and the whole sect is united. How can it be controlled by Donghai? Xianling sect is declining, but with the help of East Sea, they will definitely compete with Zhenling. In this way, the North Sea cultivation world will not be peaceful, and it will be beneficial for East Sea to rope them in. They will become the vanguard of the various sects of East Sea, and become the vanguard against the demon race. This is the most beneficial way for East Sea's cultivation world to deal with it." Immortal Qin was a little puzzled, and asked, "But only by resisting the outside world and pacifying the inside world can we resist the demon race. Although the North Sea is weak, it is not dispensable. After all, it is a force against the demon race. If it is consumed in the internal strife, it will not be a good thing for the human race." Yuan Guang Laozu nodded and said, "Martial nephew Qin has a unique vision, but the old man has lived a few hundred years longer than you. The cultivation world is not as simple as the confrontation between the human race and the demon race. When the time comes, who can say that the human race and the demon race will not join forces? When that time comes, this little bit of power in the North Sea cultivation world will really be dispensable. Don't forget that the so-called North Sea is barren because there are no large amounts of cultivation resources found here, but this does not mean that there are no cultivation resources in the North Sea. Not discovering and not existing are two different things. Don't forget that the North Sea cultivators have now discovered a large spirit vein on an island. Who can guarantee that in the future, there will not be other large spirit veins, or even giant spirit veins and spirit veins in the North Sea? After all, the North Sea cultivation world should be controlled by the East Sea. In the future, if the South Sea cultivation world is controlled, then the prosperity of the entire overseas cultivation world will not be inferior to that of the Central Plains. Yuan Guang Laozu's words made the cultivators of the 5 major sects of East Sea excited. Immortal Qin felt that something was wrong, but he could not find an excuse. At the same time, he was also attracted by the scene described by Yuan Guang Laozu, and began to calculate how the Northern Alliance could get a bigger share of the benefits. As for the rise and fall of the North Sea cultivation world, it was no longer something they considered. Chapter 444. In this part of the world, any heaven and earth spiritual object was originally only used to refine a golden core. But just like the growing soil, a heaven and earth spiritual object, which far exceeded the value of heaven and earth spiritual objects, there were also special existences among the heaven and earth spiritual objects. The wonder dew of myriad wonder was such a special existence amongst the world treasures. The wonder dew of myriad wonder was originally a mid-grade heaven step world spirit water. However, this mid-grade heaven step world spirit water was even more precious than a high-grade heaven step world spirit water. This was not only because the wonder dew of myriad wonder was scarce in this world compared to other world treasures, but also because the wonder dew of myriad wonder had heaven-defying medicinal properties. There were many top longevity pills in the cultivation world. For example, the majority of the 10-year longevity pills required the myriad wonder jade nectar as the main ingredient or the guiding medicine. As the most tyrannical spirit forging pill in the cultivation world, the myriad wonder jade nectar was an indispensable part of the spirit forging pill. In the cultivation room on Huangli Island, Lu Ping held a jade slip in his hand. His divine sense repeatedly pondered over the half of the spirit forging pill recipe in his hand. This half of the recipe was personally given to Lu Ping by Tianlu Furnace Laozu when he went to the Pill Pavilion to collect the spirit herbs that were specially provided to alchemy grandmasters. Was this what the Xianling sect used to show off to his sect in the North Sea Palace? Who would have thought that it would also fall into his sect's hands now? Unfortunately, there was only half of the recipe. It only recorded the various spirit herbs needed to refine the spirit forging pill, but there was no detailed description of the method to refine the pill. With a flip of his hand, another jade slip appeared in Lu Ping's hand. This jade slip was a pill recipe that Lu Ping obtained in the Qingjian Immortals Cave. This pill recipe was created by Qingjian Laozu thousands of years ago, imitating the Fei Ling sect's spirit forging pill. It was a type of spirit forging pill that was also very effective in improving the gold core, so it was called the minor spirit forging pill. Qingjian Laozu was able to create the minor spirit forging pill, so he must have some understanding of how to refine the spirit forging pill. Lu Ping cross-referenced the contents of the two jade slips, hoping to find some clues about the method to refine the spirit forging pill. However, Lu Ping pondered for a while. Although he had some understanding of the pill refining techniques, he was still confused about the method to refine the spirit forging pill. At this time, Lu Ping had been in seclusion on Huangli Island for nearly 5 years. With a huge amount of spirit stones, spirit veins, pills, and his own unremitting efforts, his cultivation had finally reached the peak of the 4th layer of core forging. Only one step was left before he could break through the bottleneck of the 5th layer. At this time, due to Taoist Guo Xianshan's mountain-moving sea-filling technique, Huangli Island was pulled over from the sea by Taoist Guo. Finally, they merged with Huangli Island, and the area of Huangli Island suddenly reached a radius of more than 30 kilometers. Although Huangli Island was still a distance away from the small islands with a radius of 50 kilometers, the prosperity of Huangli Island had already far surpassed all the small islands under Zhenling's jurisdiction. Moreover, with the nourishment of nearly 6 small spirit veins, the entire Huangli Island was like a treasure island in the eyes of the cultivators of Zhenling. Currently, Huangli Island had a total of 58 spirit gathering places, and nearly 70 acres of spirit farmlands and spirit gardens. There was also a small vein of upper-grade spirit soil, and a small vein of mid-grade spirit ore. It could be said that the richness of the entire Huangli Island was comparable to the 36 mid-sized islands under the jurisdiction of Zhenling sect. Even some of the poorer mid-sized islands could not compare to Huangli Island. Currently, Huangli Island had become a popular training ground for the disciples of Zhenling Side Hall. The spirit fields and gardens on the island would basically be handed over to a new batch of disciples every 2 years. However, among these disciples, there were 2 exceptions. These two had been training on Huangli Island for close to 10 years, and they had never given up. Tian Yu had planted all of his 8 acres of spirit fields with spirit herbs. After several years on Huangli Island, he had already gotten used to this kind of lifestyle. Tian Yu was born timid, and he was unwilling to venture out to hunt demonic beasts like other cultivators. Thus, after advancing to the blood condensation realm, his cultivation was only at the peak of the second layer of the blood condensation realm. However, Tian Yu was an expert in managing spirit herbs. It was precisely because the spirit herbs he took care of were growing the best and harvested the most spirit herbs that Taoist Hu Lili specially entrusted him with the 8 acres of spirit herb garden that was closest to Huangli Island's cave abode and had the best effect of gathering spirit herbs. Tian Yu was obsessed with the cultivation of spirit herbs. He was also eager to study the growth characteristics and medicinal properties of various spirit herbs. From Master Immortal Feng Tao of Huangli Island, he found a large number of jade slips that recorded the cultivation and medicinal properties of spirit herbs. There were even some simple low-grade pill recipes. The other person was Wang Qi. Unlike Tian Yu, who didn't want to leave Huangli Island, Wang Qi often went out with adventurer teams to hunt demonic beasts. His fierce swordsmanship was becoming more and more famous among the cultivators in the same realm as him. His sky-piercing kill cultivation technique had also improved significantly. Coupled with the many fortuitous encounters he had while hunting, he was already a 4th-layer blood condensation realm cultivator. He was already qualified to become a disciple of Zhenling's core forging enlightened master. Compared to Tian Yu, Wang Qi wasn't good at managing spirit herbs. Therefore, he requested Taoist Hu Lili to change his spirit herbs to 3 acres of barren spirit herbs that could only be used to grow spirit grains. This way, he wouldn't have to spend too much time taking care of the spirit herbs. Compared to planting spirit herbs, Wang Qi was more willing to put all his energy into cultivating and practicing his swordsmanship. After coming out of seclusion, Hu Lili briefly introduced Huangli Island to Lu Ping. Due to Huangli Island's unique geographical location, as well as Fa Xiang Laozu's presence and the island's impregnable protective array, the number of cultivators entering and leaving Huangli Island had reached 3,000. Among them, there were also 2,000 cultivators who were permanently stationed there. Among them, there were many core forging realm cultivators. As more and more cultivators went overseas to hunt, the harvest naturally increased. In the past 5 years, Hu Lili exchanged the harvest of the cultivators who went out to sea with spirit pills, spirit stones, and dharma treasures at a high price for information about 4 miniature spirit veins. After they were moved to Huangli Island through attraction array, the number of spirit veins on Huangli Island finally reached 6. As for the other 2 miniature spirit veins, they were moved to 2 highlands at the edge of Huangli Island according to Lu Ping's instructions. They opened up 6 cave mansions and rented them to the cultivators who came and went on the island. They were praised by the itinerant cultivators on the island, and Hu Lili also took the opportunity to make a fortune. After understanding the development of Huangli Island in the past few years, Lu Ping originally wanted to pay a visit to Tianlin Laozu and ask him some questions about cultivation. Unexpectedly, as soon as he met Tianlin Laozu, he was sent back to Tianling Mountain by Laozu. Reverend Liang Xianfeng had encountered a problem when he was refining the heavenly wind leaf. This heavenly wind leaf was obtained by Lu Ping with Reverend Liang Xuanfeng's help in the East Sea's Zhongshuan Laozu's cave. However, the quality of this heavenly wind leaf was high enough. It had been condensed for 5,000 years. Although Reverend Liang Xuanfeng's cultivation was superb, he thought that he could only refine half a heavenly wind leaf. Even so, it was more than enough to refine a 7th-grade golden core. The process of refining the heavenly wind leaf was originally smooth sailing. However, after Tianlu Laozu handed Zhenling's spirit forging pill to Reverend Liang Xianfeng at the last moment, Reverend Liang Xianfeng was suddenly filled with confidence. Back then, he was second only to Jiang Tianlin, Lu Tianling, and Mei Xianqin. Now, these people had all successfully formed a high-grade golden core and successfully entered the Dharma stage. Naturally, Reverend Liang Xianfeng was not satisfied with just forming an ordinary 7th grade golden core. In the future, he would have to worry about entering the mid-dharma stage. Therefore, with the help of the spirit forging pill, Reverend Liang Xianfeng intended to refine the entire heavenly wind leaf. This way, even if he could not form an 8th grade golden core, his achievements would not be inferior to Xianling Sec's Feng Shutao, who had refined 2 sets of low-grade heavenly spirit items. Unexpectedly, although the spirit forging pill looked complete, Reverend Liang Xianfeng had already secretly extracted a portion of its essence in the name of researching the spirit forging pill. This was bad news. At the last moment of refining the heavenly wind leaf, Reverend Liang Xuanfeng's spirit forging pill actually ran out of energy. Seeing that years of hard work was about to be wasted, and the extra half of the heavenly wind leaf was about to be wasted, Reverend Liang Xianfeng could only accept the fate of forming an ordinary 7th grade golden core like Reverend Guo Xianshan and Reverend Chu Xuancheng. When Tianlu Laozu heard about this, he was furious. The first thing Tianlu Laozu did was to imprison Reverend Liang Xianfeng. However, a portion of the essence of the spirit forging pill that Reverend Liang Xianshan had stolen had already been used to refine a mid-grade earth-level heaven and earth spirit item. In desperation, Tianlu Laozu could only put Reverend Liang Xianfeng under house arrest in the elixir pavilion. At the same time, he summoned all the alchemy masters and core forging stage alchemists of the sect to the elixir pavilion. At the same time, Tianfan Laozu and Tianjiang Laozu, who were in charge of Tianling Mountain, also came. The 3 Laozu's presence in the elixir pavilion clearly told everyone that they had to save Reverend Liang Xianfeng at all costs. In fact, Reverend Liang Xuanfeng's cultivation and life were not in danger. However, Jinling felt pity for the half of the heavenly wind leaf. That was a treasure that could allow a 9th-level core forging stage cultivator to form a 7th grade golden core and become a half-step Dharma adept. Unexpectedly, it was destroyed by Reverend Liang Xianfeng using such despicable means. Tianlu Laozu let out a long sigh and said, "What happened to Xianfeng was the fault of the old man. After this matter is over, the old man will receive his punishment from the sect. Now, we need to work together to see how we can complete the last step of refining the heavenly wind leaf so that this half-a-heaven-class spirit object will not become a waste." The dozen or so alchemists in the pill pavilion looked at each other in dismay. If it was an earth-tier origin treasure, they might still have some ideas. But a heaven-tier origin treasure and an earth-tier origin treasure weren't even on the same level. The difference between the two was like the difference between heaven and earth, causing everyone to feel helpless. Reverend Xianyue laughed bitterly and said, "Uncle Master, in this situation, I'm afraid there's no other way but to find another spirit-forging pill. Moreover, with senior brother Liang's current condition, even if we find a spirit-forging pill for him to consume, I'm afraid that more than half of it will be wasted. After all, senior brother Liang is only at the last step. Junior brother Xuanjing's actions are really, sigh." Everyone's faces were filled with resentment. It was obvious that there was nothing they could do. After everyone entered the elixir pavilion, Tianfan Laozu had been observing them. He saw that Lu Ping was sitting to the side with a pensive look on his face. Tianfan Laozu directly asked, "Little Lu, do you have any ideas? Regardless of whether it's successful or not, just say it." Tianfan Laozu's words were not without purpose. Everyone in the elixir pavilion looked at the youngest alchemist sitting next to Reverend Xuandian in astonishment. Seeing Tianfan Laozu's words, Lu Ping thought for a moment and said, "Perhaps this disciple can give it a try." Chapter 445. Enlightened Master Xian Jing could be considered a weirdo among the alchemy masters of Jinling. As one of the 5 alchemy masters of Jinling, Enlightened Master Xian Jing's alchemy skills were only slightly better than Enlightened Master Xian Dian's. He had no problem refining a mid-stage core forging pill, but the success rate of refining a late-stage core forging pill was terrible. Especially after Enlightened Master Xian Jing focused all his attention on the spirit forging pill, his alchemy skills had not improved in the past few years. Originally, he had the idea of keeping the spirit-forging pill for himself, but unexpectedly, Fornax Laozu gave the order and the spirit-forging pill became enlightened Master Liang Xuanfeng's. How could enlightened Master Xian Jing accept this? Although enlightened Master Xian Jing had not made any progress in the refinement of the spirit-forging pill, he had ingeniously come up with a spirit-attracting secret technique. This secret technique could strip a part of the essence from the pill. Even alchemy masters would not be able to detect the essence of the pill if they did not examine it carefully, let alone other cultivators. Enlightened Master Xian Jing had coveted the spirit-forging pill for a long time. How could he be willing to let the delicacy in his hands become someone else's delicacy? Thus, he made up his mind and used the spirit-attracting secret technique on the spirit-forging pill. Originally, enlightened Master Xian Jing was still hoping for a fluke. In his opinion, Liang Xuanfeng's strength was no less than Lu Tianling and the others who had reached the Dharma phase. Although the spirit-forging pill had been stripped of a quarter of its essence by enlightened Master Xian Jing, with the help of the incomplete spirit-forging pill, it should not be a problem for enlightened Master Liang Xianfeng to completely refine the other half of the Tianfeng leaf. At that time, even if enlightened Master Liang Xianfeng found out that there was something wrong with the spirit-forging pill, the sect would not blame him too much for his identity as an alchemy master. However, he did not expect that the sky wind leaf was not as simple as an ordinary sky wind leaf. In order to obtain it, perfected Liang Xianfeng was even severely injured by the cultivators of the Crystal Palace in the East Sea. If Lu Ping had not succeeded in refining the Zhongding pill, perfected Liang Xianfeng would not have been able to condense his gold core. Most of his previous experience was lost due to the injury. With the combination of the two factors, the incomplete spirit-forging pill caused perfected Liang Xianfeng to be stuck at the final moment of forming a top-notch 7th-grade golden core. The reason why Taoist Master Heavenly Furnace did not immediately punish Taoist Xian Jing after learning the truth was that Taoist Master Xian Jing was his direct disciple and an alchemy grandmaster. Taoist Master Xian Jing had used a quarter of the spirit-forging pill's essence to refine a mid-grade earth-step origin treasure and was about to become a late-stage core-forging cultivator. At the very least, Lu Ping had many ideas about this secret technique. But now, the first thing Lu Ping had to do was to rescue perfected Liang Xianfeng from his current strange state and save the other half of the heavenly wind leaf. When Tianfan Laozu and the others heard that Lu Ping actually had a way, their faces lit up with joy. The other alchemy masters had complicated expressions on their faces. The young cultivator in front of them had already brought them too many surprises. Some of the older alchemy masters seemed to see the other amazing alchemy grandmaster Jinling had met decades ago in this cultivator. At that time, she had also shocked the cultivators in the pill pavilion. The only difference was that this cultivator in front of them seemed to be even more outstanding than that perfected Liang Xianfeng. He had saved Taoist Master Xian Sen and helped Jinling make a lot of money in the North Sea with the spiritual water meridian nourishing pill, the blood condensing pill, and the pill furnace that Jinling had kept a secret in the pill pavilion's land of inheritance. For Jinling, these could be considered as turning the tide. Taoist Master Xian Jing's disciple, Taoist Master Tao Xianfang, was now at the second stage core forging realm and was only one step away from becoming Jinling's 6th alchemy grandmaster. Originally, Tao Xianfang was worried about his master Xian Jing. If perfected Liang Xianfeng failed to refine the heavenly wind leaf, he would only be able to form an ordinary 7th-grade golden core. He could imagine how his master would be punished by the sect. Therefore, when he heard Lu Ping say that he had a way, he had already suppressed the jealousy in his heart. Instead, he hoped that Lu Ping could really save perfected Liang Xuanfeng's top-grade 7th-grade golden core. This way, his master's punishment would undoubtedly be reduced by a lot. They followed the Fornax Cauldron Grandmaster to a secret place in the pavilion. The Fornax Cauldron Grandmaster turned to look at Lu Ping and asked, "Are you sure you can use the Na Chuan Cauldron?" "Now, it's a magic treasure pill furnace that's worthy of its name." Lu Ping nodded and said, "This is also disciple's first time refining this kind of pill. If disciple has the help of a pill furnace, the success rate will undoubtedly be much higher." Even if disciple can't use the Na Chuan cauldron, it won't be too late to take out the Lin Chuan cauldron and use it. It's just that although this kind of pill needs half of the spirit herbs, the vitality dew is indispensable, just like the wonder jade dew and the spirit forging pill. Tianlu Laozu smiled and said, "You can rest assured about this. After you handed the formula of the vitality dew to senior sister Tian Shui in the Snow Mist Palace, the sect has already tried its best to prepare 2 portions of the vitality dew for senior brother Tian Kong. Now the 3rd portion should be ready soon. It should be enough for you to refine. Senior brother Tian Kong doesn't need this little time, but now the matter with Xianfeng can't wait." Lu Ping nodded. Then, he saw Fornak's cauldron great ancestor clenching his hand into the air and a portal appeared in front of Lu Ping. The 2 of them entered the portal one after another, and they found themselves in a blazing world. Lu Ping knew that this should be a place of inheritance of the sect. Sure enough, he heard Tianlu Laozu say, "This is actually the same space as the space where you subdued the mysterious sky spirit fire last time. It's just that because the mysterious sky spirit fire is too strange, it was isolated and placed in a separate space. In this space, there are fire seeds collected by our sect's previous generations of alchemists. Or perhaps when a senior cultivator reached the end of his lifespan, he would place the fire seeds he used in his lifetime in this space for future cultivators." Lu Ping walked with Tianlu Laozu through the inheritance space of the Dan Pavilion. Along the way, they saw several fire seeds floating in front of them. These fire seeds were ordinary spirit beast alchemist fire, heaven and earth fire, and even heaven and earth fire. Lu Ping even saw a cluster of blue fire. If it wasn't the azure spirit fire, then what was it? But after listening to Tianlu Laozu's introduction, Lu Ping was suddenly in awe, but he was puzzled. Since the sect has such a heritage, why do many disciples often waste their time because they can't smelt heaven and earth spiritual objects? Tianlu Laozu looked at Lu Ping and said, "Do you think it's easy for a cultivator to reach the Dharma phase?" Lu Ping didn't know why Tianlu Laozu asked this question, but he still answered, "Of course it's not easy." Tianlu Laozu smiled and said, "With our sect's heritage, if we want to, we can produce 7 or 8 Dharma Laozu in 30 years. Do you believe me?" Lu Ping was tongue-tied and couldn't speak. After a long time, he murmured, "How is that possible?" Tianlu Laozu smiled and said, "Why is it not possible? Not only our sect, but other sects can also produce several Dharma Laozu in times of crisis. Xianling sect has been the #1 sect in the North Sea for many years. Even though it's declining now, I'm afraid their heritage is even stronger than ours. If they want to, it's possible to produce 10 Dharma Laozu in 30 years. There seemed to be a big mystery in Lu Ping's heart. He was about to see the moon, but he still couldn't see it clearly. The Forsaken Cauldron ancestor said, "These so-called treasures are only used when the sect is in a crisis. Once these things are used up, unless they can be exchanged for a greater harvest, the sect will stagnate or even fall apart. Treasures are like the cornerstone of a house. If you dig out the cornerstone to build a house, even if it is magnificent for a time, how can it withstand the wind and rain? If a sect's heritage is gone, it can no longer be called a sect." Lu Ping nodded, not really understanding. Tianlu Laozu continued, "Look at the spirit fire of the world in this inheritance. If it's used up, it's enough for 20 early core forging cultivators to reach mid-core forging cultivators, and 5 or 6 mid-core forging cultivators to reach late core forging cultivators. This is only the inheritance of the Pill Pavilion. There's also the inheritance of the Artifact Forging Hall, the Puppet Hall, the Heaven Spirit Hall, the Talisman Crafting Pavilion, and the other inheritances of the sect. There are more or less some secrets hidden in them. Once all of these things are taken out, it's enough to change the impoverished state of the entire North Sea for a while. However, these are the heritage that Jinling has accumulated over tens of thousands of years. What right do the disciples have to take the heritage of their predecessors for free?" With that, Tianlu Laozu paused, as if he was waiting for Lu Ping to understand what he was saying. He then continued, "The heritage of a sect still needs to be used for the development of the sect in the end. However, this development must be established on the principle of not harming the sect's heritage. If you want to take the heritage of your predecessors, that's fine, but nothing is given for free. As a member of the sect, you need to contribute something to the sect. Only then will you have the right to take it. If the cultivators of a sect can easily obtain these legacies, then who would spend the effort to find the heavenly resources hidden in the world of cultivation? If a sect has no ambition, then when the heritage of the sect is used up, the sect will not be far from destruction. The sect is the backing of the individual cultivator, but the individual cultivator is the cornerstone of the sect. The growth of a cultivator can bring about a greater foundation for the sect. On the other hand, the growth of the sect will allow the cultivator to achieve greater achievements. The relationship between individual cultivators and the sect has always been one of mutual benefit. Tianlu Laozu's lecture seemed to make Lu Ping understand something. At this time, the two of them had arrived at the center of the inheritance ground. A purple three-legged cauldron, half the height of a person, was placed in an empty space. This cauldron seemed to exude an invisible aura as if it wanted to suppress this heavenly grotto. Lu Ping could clearly see that the various flames in this heavenly grotto seemed to be afraid of this cauldron. They only revolved around the cauldron as if they were worshipping it. Tianlu Laozu pointed at the cauldron and said, "This is your Na Chuan cauldron. It is now a magic treasure pill furnace." The longevity pills of senior brother Tian Kong were refined by the old man using this cauldron. Its effect is indeed far superior to ordinary top-grade pill furnaces. Lu Ping reached out his hand towards the body of the Na Chuan cauldron, which was emitting a faint purple light. A low buzzing sound slowly spread out in all directions as if it was welcoming the arrival of Lu Ping. Lu Ping was happy in his heart. The Na Chuan cauldron had been refined by Lu Ping in his core space for several years. Tianlu Laozu and Tianjiang Laozu had worked together to upgrade the Na Chuan cauldron into a magic treasure. However, they did not erase the traces of Lu Ping's refinement in the Na Chuan cauldron. Obviously, the two of them had said that when Lu Ping was proficient in using the magic treasure pill furnace, they would return the Na Chuan cauldron to Lu Ping. In fact, the reason why Lu Ping insisted on using the Na Chuan cauldron this time was because he needed a high-grade pill furnace to ensure the success rate of refining the minor forging panacea. In his heart, he was also worried about the gains and losses of the Na Chuan cauldron. Now that he saw the Na Chuan cauldron, he realized that he was a little too suspicious. Tianlu Laozu was old and shrewd. Seeing that Lu Ping was already preparing to refine the minor forging panacea, he said, "You can refine the panacea here now. I will go and see Marshal Nephew Liang first. After you finish refining the panacea, you can enter and exit this cave with your identity nameplate. Now that you are already one of the best alchemy masters in our sect, you still have this power. However, if you want to use the fire seed in this cave, you still have to get the consent of the old man." This secret inheritance place of the Fang Dan Pavilion was the most suitable place to refine high-grade panacea. Not only because of the surrounding environment, but also because of the rich spiritual qi here. This place was connected to the large spiritual vein of Tianling Mountain. This spiritual vein had been cultivated by generations of cultivators for tens of thousands of years, causing the spiritual qi in this world to be extremely rich. This was also one of the reasons why Lu Ping insisted on coming here to refine panacea. The vast eastern purple qi flame surrounded the Na Chuan cauldron. Lu Ping suddenly realized that the Na Chuan cauldron, which had been promoted to a magic weapon, required more spiritual qi to control than before. This was simply a difficult challenge for other alchemy masters in the middle stage of the core forging realm. However, for Lu Ping, who had merged with the Xianyuan heavy water, it was not a problem. The minor forging panacea was a medicinal pill for people who were half a step into the transcendence stage. Lu Ping had the experience of refining medicinal pills for people who were half a step into the transcendence stage several times before. Therefore, even though it was his first time refining a minor forging panacea, Lu Ping was not unfamiliar with it. However, just in case, Lu Ping still used a method that he had not used for a long time. A piece of ebony was cut into powder. the Eastern Purple Chi Flame, which was originally only a middle-grade Earth-step medium-grade panacea, flared up. Its power was not inferior to that of a high-grade Earth-step medium-grade panacea. With the help of high-grade spirit stones, spirit explosion art, spirit fire forging technique, purple crystal royal jelly, and most importantly, the mystic treasure cauldron, the small forged spirit pellets concoction went smoothly and he successfully refined 5 pellets. However, Lu Ping's true essence was almost depleted. This mystic treasure cauldron was truly not something an ordinary cultivator could handle. Fortunately, this inheritance land was connected to the large spiritual vein of Tianling Mountain. The spiritual qi here was very rich. Lu Ping laid down 36 high-grade spirit stones on the ground to restore the spiritual qi in his body. Unexpectedly, Lu Ping's body suddenly turned into a bottomless abyss that devoured spiritual qi. An invisible vortex of spiritual qi slowly formed with Lu Ping as the center. Lu Ping did not think that the opportunity to break through to the 5th level of core forging realm would come so easily. Chapter 446. Fornax Laozu waited outside the heavenly grotto for 7 days, but Lu Ping did not appear. Fornax Laozu finally realized that something was wrong. No pill would take such a long time to concoct, not to mention that Liang Xuanfeng's situation was getting worse and worse. He was afraid that he would not be able to hold on for much longer. Fornax Laozu had no choice but to enter the land of inheritance again to check on Lu Ping's situation. Fornax Laozu was angry and amused at the same time as he watched the Lingqi in the entire heavenly grotto constantly fluctuate and converge towards the center of the heavenly grotto. At the center of the heavenly grotto was Lu Ping, who had already entered a meditative state under the Na Chuan cauldron. Was his cultivation about to break through? This guy was really lucky. The rich Lingqi in the land of inheritance was not a place that ordinary cultivators were qualified to cultivate in. Fortunately, Fornax Laozu saw the jade crystal bottle that Lu Ping had placed at his side. Fornax Laozu stretched out his hand and the jade crystal bottle immediately flew towards Fornax Laozu. A cultivator who could use a magic pill furnace had to be at least at the late stage of core forging. Their alchemy skills also had to be at the peak of the Grandmaster level. He did not expect that this kid could use a magic pill furnace with only a cultivation of the 4th layer of core forging. Fornax Laozu opened the jade crystal bottle and sniffed it. His face suddenly showed a look of surprise. Then, he poured a minor forging spirit pill into his hand. Looking at the round and translucent pill, Fornax Laozu's expression changed. Then, he suddenly had a look of surprise. Finally, after putting the pill into the jade crystal bottle, Fornax Laozu looked deeply at Lu Ping, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground. Then, he quietly opened the door of the heavenly grotto and disappeared. Only Lu Ping, who was in the midst of breaking through, was left in the vast grotto heaven. Because of Lu Ping, the entire grotto heaven was filled with a turbulent atmosphere. A huge amount of spiritual energy was absorbed into his body by the North Sea Wave listening scripture, and refined into a dark blue true essence. The true essence fused with Lu Ping's bloodline and flowed into his heart space, settling in the golden core in the center of his heart space. At the same time, strands of divine sense were condensed into the golden core along with the true essence and bloodline essence. As he infused his divine sense into the golden core, a snake's body, crocodile's legs, carp's tail, and a strange Jiao dragon with antlers appeared on the surface of the golden core. This was the 5th strange Jiao dragon that Lu Ping's divine sense had formed on the surface of the golden core. When Lu Ping advanced to the 5th stage of core forging and completely consolidated his cultivation, Lu Ping's closed-door training time in the heavenly grotto exceeded a year. After waking up, Lu Ping looked at the various fire seeds in the grotto heaven that were repelled by the phenomenon of his breakthrough. He couldn't help but find it funny. But then he remembered that the 7 treasures thunder gourd only needed 2 more fire seeds to form a new Bing Huayin thunder. When that time came, he would be able to summon a lightning technique that was not any weaker than a great technique. With this, the 7 treasures thunder gourd had reached the initial success stage. If he wanted to improve it further, he would have to find the fourth spiritual barrier in the gourd, and at the same time, he would have to collect more extraordinary items. However, thinking about what Fornax Laozu had said before, Lu Ping was embarrassed to directly capture the fire seeds in the land of inheritance. After thinking about it, Lu Ping threw out a sound transmission sword. But after a moment, Fornax Laozu's reply came. There were only 2 sentences on the sword. Xianfeng is fine. You can take 2 fire seeds from the land of inheritance. Lu Ping was very clear about Fornax Laozu's meaning. The minor forging spirit pill saved Xuanfeng's hopes of reaching the peak of the 7th grade golden core. The 2 fire seeds of heaven and earth oddities were the reward. With Fornax Laozu's approval, Lu Ping naturally wouldn't be polite. He specifically found 2 fire seeds of heaven and earth oddities and collected them with the 7 thunder gem calabash. Lu Ping believed that after a period of time, with Lu Ping's refinement, the 7 thunder gem calabash would reach small success. Lu Ping would also be able to master the 100 rivers into the sea sword formation. Feeling the increased strength in his body, Lu Ping let out a long sigh. At this moment, the cultivation of his divine sense was no less than that of a 9th stage core forging cultivator. At this time, he even had the confidence to fight a late-stage core forging cultivator. Lu Ping took out his identity nameplate from the Jinling sect. After his true essence surged into the nameplate, a blue light suddenly formed a door in the heavenly grotto. Lu Ping walked out of the pill pavilion and saw Spiritual Master Profound Miao walking towards him from afar. Lu Ping was startled for a moment, then immediately guessed the reason for Spiritual Master Profound Miao's visit, so he immediately walked in another direction, as if to avoid him. Unexpectedly, the Profound Miao seemed to have predicted Lu Ping's reaction. As soon as he turned around, his arm had already been grabbed by the Profound Miao. Before Lu Ping could even open his mouth to ask, the Profound Miao said nothing and directly pulled him toward the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Spiritual Master Profound Miao was only a 3rd stage core forging cultivator, and he had no hope of advancing to the mid-stage core forging cultivator. As long as Lu Ping was willing, it was impossible for Spiritual Master Profound Miao to capture Lu Ping. However, Spiritual Master Profound Miao was Jinling's 2nd-generation disciple and Lu Ping's martial uncle. In addition, Lu Ping had found several excuses to reject Spiritual Master Profound Miao's proposal. Therefore, Lu Ping could only let Spiritual Master Profound Miao grab his arm and walk toward the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Spiritual Master Profound Miao came personally and almost forcibly captured Lu Ping. Lu Ping also knew that Spiritual Master Profound Miao was here to accept a disciple. In recent years, the number of mid-stage blood condensation cultivators in Jinling had increased to the point that Jinling couldn't accept all of them. Not only did many mid-stage blood condensation cultivators not have a master, even some late-stage blood condensation cultivators had been exploring their own path of cultivation. Although Jinling's sect had a rule that every Taoist master of core forging sect could only take in a maximum of 12 personal disciples, and no more than 24 personal disciples, the truth was that many Taoist masters of core forging sect were very cautious when it came to passing down their legacy. Thus, it was rare for them to take in 12 personal disciples. Due to these 2 factors, Jinling's annual apprenticeship ceremony was always packed with mid-stage and late-stage blood condensation cultivators, but only a few core forging enlightened masters wanted to accept disciples. This made Spiritual Master Profound Miao, the enlightened master stationed at the Heaven's Spirit Hall, feel pain and happiness at the same time. He was gratified that the growth of the younger generation of Jinling's disciples meant that the sect was growing stronger and stronger. However, his headache was that every time the ceremony was held, Spiritual Master Profound Miao would search for all the core forging cultivators on Tianling Mountain and the various islands. He would forcefully drag these enlightened masters out of their caves to recruit disciples at the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Other than the enlightened masters who used resources to recruit disciples, among the enlightened masters who were invited by Spiritual Master Profound Miao, some of the enlightened masters happened to meet a disciple they fancied, which could be considered as an unexpected gain. There were also some enlightened masters who couldn't stand spiritual master Profound Miao's face and could only accept a few in-name disciples. Now, spiritual master Profound Miao had become someone that all the core forging cultivators in Jinling had to avoid. Chapter 447. Many of the Jinling cultivators who had just advanced to the core forging stage had not yet recovered from the joy of becoming a Taoist master and becoming a high-level cultivator in the cultivation world. However, they had already discovered that they had already become a master in a muddled manner. According to Lu Ping's knowledge, under the unremitting efforts of Taoist master Profound Miao, in addition to himself and Yin Xianchu, his good friends, such as Yao Yong, Zhong Jian, Du Feng, Shi Lingling, and Ji Xianxian, had all accepted one or two personal disciples and several in-name disciples. On Huangli Island, Lu Ping had already seen a teenager following behind Chen Lian. It was said that this teenager was also Chen Lian's personal disciple. There were also a few disciples who worked as assistants for Jinling as in-name disciples. Even Hu Lili now had 2 personal disciples and several female disciples under her command. After all, Hu Lili was now a core forging stage cultivator and one of the few formation masters in Jinling. Although Lu Ping didn't know why Yin Xianchu didn't accept disciples, Lu Ping had been hiding from Taoist master Profound Miao for several years. In the past, Taoist master Xian Yuan and Taoist master Profound Miao worked together to send 7 blood refining stage disciples who had watched him practice swordsmanship to Huangli Island to gain experience for several years. However, Lu Ping stubbornly kept these 7 disciples on Huangli Island for nearly 10 years. In the end, 5 of the 7 disciples left, leaving only Wang Qi and Tianyu. However, neither of them caught Lu Ping's attention. In essence, Lu Ping was a lazy person who was afraid of trouble. How could he have the mood to think about teaching disciples? However, Taoist master Profound Miao didn't see it that way. In his opinion, Lu Ping's swordsmanship and alchemy were the 2 peerless talents among Jinling's core forging stage cultivators. How could such an amazing cultivator not leave behind his own inheritance? Therefore, even though Lu Ping used all kinds of excuses to evade Taoist master Profound Miao, Taoist master Profound Miao never got tired of it. Almost every time the apprenticeship ceremony came, Taoist master Profound Miao would send an invitation card to Taoist master Profound Miao. No one knew where Taoist master Profound Miao got the news that Lu Ping was in the Pill Pavilion's land of inheritance, but he personally came to the Pill Pavilion to capture Lu Ping. On the way to the Pill Pavilion, Lu Ping had already figured out this matter. The fact that Lu Ping was in seclusion in the Pill Pavilion was only known by his sect's Laozu and a few of the Pill Pavilion's alchemy masters. The alchemy masters would never reveal the location of the inheritance to Taoist master Profound Miao. Thus, for Taoist master Profound Miao to appear in front of him so accurately the moment Lu Ping came out of the inheritance, it was obvious that he was instructed by Fornax Laozu. It seemed that the matter of Jinling's mid and late blood condensation disciples had reached an extremely serious stage. It had even attracted the attention of Taoist master Profound Miao. Currently, Jinling's second-generation disciples were no longer accepting disciples. Taoist master Profound Miao was like this. Although the second-generation disciples had different levels of cultivation, whether it was personal disciples or nominal disciples, they had already accepted dozens of disciples. Currently, none of Jinling's third-generation disciples were able to cross the threshold of late core forging. However, the growth of the third-generation disciples had already become the main body of Jinling. They were the main high-level cultivators that Jinling recruited. Lu Ping followed Taoist master Profound Miao all the way to the Heaven's Spirit Hall. At this time, there were already dozens of mid and late blood condensation disciples gathered in front of the hall. Lu Ping's current prestige in Jinling was unparalleled. Ever since Lu Ping defeated the Eastern Sea's Crystal Palace's disciple, Zhang Shiji, in an unimaginable manner 6 years ago, his reputation in Jinling had almost reached its peak. Even some of Jinling's late core forging second-generation disciples could only look up to him. His ranking in the North Sea rookie list had already reached the top 10, and he was ranked 7th on the rookie list. He was only below a few sixth-layer core forging cultivators. Among the low-level cultivators in Jinling, how many didn't know who Lu Xianping was? Therefore, when they saw Lu Ping follow Taoist Master Profound Miao into the Heaven's Spirit Hall, they finally realized something. The Water Sword Immortal, who had never accepted a disciple, was invited to the Heaven's Spirit Hall by Taoist Master Profound Miao on the eve of the apprenticeship ceremony. Could it be that Taoist Master Lu Xianping was going to accept a disciple this time? Up until now, Lu Ping was the only mid-core forging cultivator in Jinling who didn't have a disciple. Coupled with Lu Ping's legendary experience and shocking strength in the North Sea, he had long since become the ideal disciple candidate among the blood condensation cultivators in Jinling. Unfortunately, Lu Ping never had any intentions of accepting a disciple. Although many high-level cultivators had tried to find out if Lu Ping had any intentions of accepting a disciple, and many cultivators had even taken the opportunity to introduce their juniors to Lu Ping had never relented on the matter of accepting a disciple. This made Huangli Island's Hearing Wave Manor the most difficult place for Jinling's disciples to accept a disciple. However, at this time, the disciples of Jinling suddenly realized that the Water Sword Immortal was about to accept a disciple. The sound-transmitting swords in front of the Heaven's Spirit Hall began to fly everywhere. In just half a day, the entire Jinling, including the mid-blood condensation cultivators who were stationed at the edge of the island and had yet to accept a master, and the disciples of the clans under Jinling's jurisdiction who had reached the standard but had yet to accept a master, all of them rushed to Heaven's Spirit Mountain. When enlightened Master Profound Miao came out of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, he was shocked by the scene in front of him. There were already more than 300 mid and late blood condensation cultivators waiting for the ceremony. Although enlightened Master Profound Miao was a core forging cultivator and was immune to all diseases, he still felt dizzy when he saw such a scene. After enlightened Master Profound Miao understood the situation in front of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, he immediately returned to the hall and reported the situation to Lu Ping. Lu Ping was also dumbfounded. He didn't think that this would happen. Enlightened Master Profound Miao chuckled, "Even if you don't want to accept a disciple this time, it's impossible. Otherwise, how are you going to give an explanation to these hundreds of disciples?" Lu Ping couldn't help but smile bitterly. "Disciple originally wanted to talk about accepting a disciple in the future, but it was you who dragged me here. Now that such a big scene has happened, who can I blame?" Enlightened Master Profound Miao snickered, "I don't care. Most of these cultivators are here for your name. You have to know that you are the flag of our sect in the cultivation world of the North Sea. Today's matter has probably alerted the Laozu of our sect. If you don't handle it well, your great reputation among the low-level cultivators of our sect will be ruined." As soon as enlightened Master Profound Miao finished speaking, enlightened Master Guo Xianshan and enlightened Master Xian Shu walked into the Heaven's Spirit Hall sternly. Seeing Lu Ping's bitter smile, enlightened Master Guo directly asked, "How do you plan on handling today's matter?" Lu Ping just shrugged and said, "Disciple was dragged here by enlightened Master Profound Miao today. I originally didn't want to accept a few disciples. If worst comes to worst, I'll just say that I've come to observe the ceremony and not accept a single one. Also, enlightened Master Profound Miao didn't spread the news of me accepting a disciple in the sect. The disciples outside are just groundless rumors." Enlightened Master Profound Miao could not help but smile bitterly when he saw Lu Ping's shameless behavior. He had indeed been a little reckless in this matter. Although he had done it out of good intentions, he had forgotten about Lu Ping's great reputation among the disciples of the sect. He was now stuck between a rock and a hard place. Nonsense. Although enlightened Master Guo Xuanshan's face darkened, before he could reprimand enlightened Master Profound Miao, a voice rang out in the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Lu Ping recognized the voice as one of the 3 mid-Dharma adepts of the sect, Laozu, Tian Fan Laozu. A green door suddenly appeared in the middle of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, and Tian Fan Laozu stepped into the hall with a solemn face. Lu Ping hurriedly bowed along with enlightened Master Guo Xianshan and the others. Tian Fan Laozu looked at Lu Ping and said coldly, "You're the one who always makes people worry. Not long ago, you solved Xuanfeng's big problem, and now you've taken out such a brilliant elixir like the minor forging spirit pill. The old man was still thinking of how to reward you, but you've just come out of seclusion and caused such a big mess. And you still want to wash your hands of this? Do you still have any sense of responsibility towards this sect? Lu Ping laughed bitterly and did not say anything. He did not think that he would really alarm Laozu of the sect, and it was the strongest Laozu of the sect. Tian Fan Laozu saw that although Lu Ping's expression was respectful, there was still some disapproval in his heart. In a low voice, he said, "The success of our sect today is due to the unity of everyone in the sect. We've gathered everyone's strength together. Low-level adepts support high-level adepts, and high-level adepts protect low-level adepts. This is why we're so prosperous, far surpassing the other 9 sections. You, Lu Xianping, may only be a third-generation disciple, but your current achievements have already placed you in the core decision-making group of the sect. Your status in the sect has even exceeded that of a normal late-core forging cultivator, yet you still treat yourself as a normal disciple of the sect. You live a carefree life, and when there's a problem, you try to get the seniors of the sect to deal with it. How is that possible? If they could deal with it, why would the old man come to the Heaven's Spirit Hall?" After Tian Fan Laozu arrived at the Heaven's Spirit Hall, he did not even look at anyone else. Instead, he lectured Lu Ping. Not only did this exceed Lu Ping's expectations, it even exceeded the expectations of all the core forging cultivators in the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Even Lu Ping and Spiritual Master Guo Xianshan and the others did not think that their sect's Laozu had already placed Lu Ping at such a high level. Although Spiritual Master Guo Xianshan and the others previously valued Lu Ping and even admired Lu Ping's achievements, they still treated Lu Ping as a junior in the end. They would usually take care of Lu Ping. Only today, after hearing Tian Fan Laozu's words, did everyone realize that the disciple before them had achieved a series of achievements for the sect. His status in the sect was no less than Spiritual Master Xianshu, Spiritual Master Xiansen, and the other late-core forging cultivators. He was even comparable to Liang Xianfeng, Chu Xuancheng, and the other half-step Dharma adepts. For a moment, everyone in the Heaven's Spirit Hall had a variety of expressions. After Tian Fan Laozu finished speaking, he took 2 steps out of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, as if he was thinking of something. Lu Ping was slightly flattered. He had not yet recovered from Tian Fan Laozu's lecture. Spiritual Master Guo nodded, as if he agreed with Tian Fan Laozu's point of view. Spiritual Master Xianshu did not say a word from beginning to end, but his eyes seemed to be thinking of something. Spiritual Master Xuanmiao was a little surprised, but then he shook his head, as if he was feeling inferior. At this moment, more and more cultivators gathered outside the Heaven's Spirit Hall. It was no longer limited to the cultivators who had come to take on a disciple. There were even more cultivators who had come to watch the ceremony, almost reaching 500 people. The other core forging cultivators on Heaven's Spirit Mountain also seemed to have noticed what was happening. Strands of soul would fly over from time to time to check on the situation. Only after a long while did Lu Ping's eyes clear up. Although Tian Fan Laozu was looking outside, he seemed to be paying attention to Lu Ping at all times. Seeing Lu Ping let out a long sigh of relief, he asked, "Have you thought it through?" Lu Ping nodded solemnly, "Yes, disciple has thought it through." "Oh." Tian Fan Laozu turned around and glanced at Lu Ping with some interest. He said, "Then tell me, how do you plan on dealing with this?" Everyone's faces lit up. They looked toward Lu Ping, and at the same time, they wondered what method Lu Ping would use to deal with the cultivators who had gathered in front of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Lu Ping smiled. "This time, disciple did not reveal the news of me accepting a disciple, so disciple naturally will not accept a disciple during the ceremony." Spiritual Master Profound Miao's face collapsed when he heard what Lu Ping had said. Unexpectedly, Lu Ping continued, "However, Senior Profound Miao has told me that our sect has been flourishing in the past few years. A large number of disciples who have reached the mid and late blood condensation realm have never had the opportunity to become a disciple of our sect. They can only explore and cultivate on their own, which has greatly slowed down their cultivation speed. As a result, disciple wishes to hold a 7-day lecture after the ceremony in the Heaven Spirit Hall so that I can share some of my insights and experiences with those who have yet to become a disciple with a master. At the same time, I also wish for even more high-level cultivators of our sect to lecture in front of the Heaven Spirit Hall. It would be best if it becomes a custom. That way, not only will the cultivation speed of those who have yet to become a disciple not be affected by the lack of guidance from a master, it will also alleviate the pressure on the high-level cultivators of our sect to accept disciples due to the rapid growth of the younger generation. That way, it will also alleviate the dissatisfaction towards the sect from the low-level cultivators being unable to become a disciple of our sect. It will be beneficial for the strength of our sect. Tian Fan Laozu was rather satisfied with Lu Ping's words. Spiritual Master Guo Xianshan and Spiritual Master Xian Shu also nodded their heads to one side. Of course, the happiest person was the Spiritual Master Profound Miao. Ever since he had become a spiritual master of the Heaven Spirit Hall, he had basically run his legs off every year when it came to accepting disciples. Only now did he let out a breath of relief after hearing Lu Ping's suggestion. Although a portion of the cultivators were disappointed when the spiritual master Profound Miao announced that the Water Sword Immortal would be lecturing for 7 days after the ceremony, there were even more cultivators who were extremely excited. This was because everyone knew that it was impossible for all the cultivators gathered in the Heaven Spirit Hall to become a disciple of spiritual master Lu Xianping. Since that was the case, being able to listen to spiritual master Lu Xuanping's lecture for 7 days was not bad either. Chapter 448. Even though they knew that Lu Ping would be preaching for 7 days after the ceremony, Lu Ping did not plan on accepting any disciples, which greatly disappointed the several hundred Jinling disciples who had hurried over. Even though that was the case, there were still several dozen disciples who put in their best efforts during the ceremony, hoping to gain the recognition of spiritual master Lu Xianping so that he would change his mind and accept them as a disciple. However, to everyone's disappointment, Lu Ping only smiled as he sat in the Heaven Spirit Hall and watched the performance of the many disciples. He did not mention the matter of accepting disciples at all. However, because Lu Ping did not plan on accepting disciples, only 80 or 90 of the several hundred disciples who had hurried over decided to participate in the ceremony. However, their hard work had unexpectedly gained the recognition of a few core forging adepts. Quite a few adepts who had not planned on accepting disciples changed their minds and accepted 1 or 2 that they valued. Quite a few adepts who only wanted to accept a single disciple struggled to choose between 2 or 3. In the end, they all accepted under spiritual master Profound Miao's instigation. Out of the 80 to 90 disciples who participated in the apprenticeship ceremony, 60 to 70 of them were apprenticed to the sect's spiritual master. Although most of them could only be registered disciples, for spiritual master Profound Miao, this year's apprenticeship ceremony could be considered a complete success. Wang Qi, Fang Wei, and Fang Xia had already heard that spiritual master Lu Xianping would be attending the ceremony 3 days later because they had gone out to hunt. When the 3 of them hurried over to the Heaven's Spirit Mountain, the ceremony was already nearing its end. Fortunately, spiritual master Lu Xianping did not accept disciples during the ceremony and would instead preach for 7 days after the ceremony. The 3 of them only let out a sigh of relief. Tian Yu had hurried over as well. Although his cultivation had not reached the level where Jinling could accept a master, he had always been on Huangli Island. He had learned from Fang Tao that spiritual master Lu Xianping was going to preach at the Heaven Spirit Hall, so he had hurried over as well. Wang Qi looked around and quickly found the other 5 people who had trained on Huangli Island with him. They were all at the mid-blood condensation realm and were somewhat famous sword cultivators among their peers. When they heard that spiritual master Lu Xianping would be attending the ceremony, they had hurried over just like Wang Qi. They were now waiting for spiritual master Lu Xuanping's 7 days of preaching. The first 2 days of Lu Ping's 7-day lecture were mainly about cultivation. Lu Ping's main focus was the water elemental cultivation method, but he didn't just focus on the North Sea wave listening scripture. Instead, he studied the many water elemental cultivation methods in Zhenling sect's scripture library and compared them with his own cultivation methods. Adding to the fact that Lu Ping had fought many different opponents over the years, his knowledge had broadened and he had his own insights on cultivation. The 2 days of Lu Ping's lecture not only satisfied the blood condensation realm cultivators, but also gave Lu Ping the opportunity to sort out his own knowledge. Under his careful study, a cultivation system suitable for himself began to take shape. The 3rd and 4th days were about the way of the sword. This was the content that Jinling cultivators were most excited about. Lu Ping's swordsmanship was renowned among cultivators of the same level. He was even given the title of the Water Sword Immortal. Many cultivators who wanted to become disciples of Lu Ping came because of Lu Ping's swordsmanship. In fact, Lu Ping was not a pure sword cultivator. Sword techniques were just a common means to him. Although the 6 sword techniques he mainly practiced in the North Sea's 12 righteous arts were all top-notch sword techniques in the cultivation world, and as Lu Ping's cultivation and status increased, he came into contact with more and more things in the cultivation world. His understanding of sword techniques deepened as well. The sword techniques he learned were no longer limited to the 6 or 7 sword techniques he learned in the past, nor were they limited to the water element sword techniques. As a result, the number of cultivators who came to Heaven's Spirit Hall reached its peak during the 2 days Lu Ping was teaching. There were close to 1,000 Zhenling sect cultivators who came to listen to Lu Ping's lecture. Moreover, there weren't only blood condensation realm disciples among the audience. There were also many core forging realm cultivators on Tianling Mountain who were listening through the Dao Art Assembly. Lu Ping ignored them and focused on his lecture. On the 5th and 6th day, Lu Ping's lecture changed to the Tao of Alchemy Cauldron again. This time, the number of cultivators who could understand his lecture was much lower. However, a considerable number of cultivators who stayed to listen were either alchemists from the sect or aspiring to become alchemists. Who was Lu Ping? He was one of the only 5 pill refiners in the sect. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was the number 1 pill refiner under Fornax Laozu. Although there weren't many cultivators who came to listen to the lecture, there were many core forging cultivators among them. Although these cultivators had reached the required cultivation level, they couldn't cross the threshold to become a pill refiner master. In front of a master like Lu Ping, they were completely juniors. Lu Ping even saw Tao Xianfang among the crowd. At this time, Tao Xianfang was no longer as arrogant as he was in the early days, especially after Taoist master Xianjing used the spirit-stealing technique to steal a quarter of the essence of the spirit-forging pill, causing Taoist master Liang Xianfeng to almost fail in condensing his golden core. If it wasn't for Lu Ping's minor spirit-forging pill that saved Taoist master Liang Xianfeng from the edge of condensing his golden core, Taoist master Xianjing wouldn't be able to pass this hurdle. After Lu Ping successfully refined the minor spirit-forging pill, Fornax Laozu had listed it as a top secret of Jinling. The effect of the minor spirit-forging pill was far less than that of the spirit-forging pill. During the process of smelting the heavenly wind leaf, Taoist master Liang Xianfeng had used 3 minor spirit-forging pills to make up for the loss of a quarter of the essence of the spirit-forging pill. Taoist master Liang Xianfeng only had 3 chances to use the minor spirit-forging pill. Therefore, for any late-stage core forging cultivator, taking the minor spirit-forging pill was far from enough to raise the rank of their golden core. However, although the minor forging spirit pills had little effect on late gold core stage cultivators, it was still a precious treasure for cultivators who were smelting heaven and earth spirit treasures for the first and second time. It could be said that if Taoist master Xian Jing had 3 minor forging spirit pills in his hands, he wouldn't need to painstakingly create a soul-stealing technique to steal the essence of a spirit forging pill. He could completely smelt a mid-grade earth step spirit treasure into his gold core and smoothly advance to the late core forging stage. On the last day, Lu Ping didn't preach the Tao. Instead, he allowed the audience to ask questions. Lu Ping answered in front of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Unexpectedly, all the Jinling disciples were speechless. They didn't have the courage to stand up and ask a core forging cultivator a question in front of everyone. For a moment, the atmosphere in front of the Heaven's Spirit Hall was very awkward. In the end, some of the cultivators who came to listen to Lu Ping's Tao of Pill Cauldrons asked questions. Only then did Lu Ping avoid this awkward situation. Although these alchemists were only ordinary alchemists, their cultivation had reached the core forging stage. Their seniority in the sect was even higher than Lu Ping's. Naturally, Lu Ping didn't dare to put on airs of giving pointers. Instead, he discussed the Tao with each other. Unexpectedly, after answering a question from one alchemist, another alchemist immediately asked Lu Ping a question. As a result, more and more alchemists participated. What was originally a Tao preaching session became a Jinling core forging cultivators' Tao discussion. Later on, more and more cultivators participated. The cultivators who asked questions were no longer limited to alchemists. Many core forging cultivators who came to listen with their spiritual sense also appeared. Many core forging cultivators discussed and verified with each other. The content of the discussion became more and more extensive. On the contrary, Lu Ping was no longer the main character of the session. The disciples in front of the Heaven's Spirit Hall didn't think that things would develop like this. Although it was no longer enlightened Master Lu Xuanping's session, it was still the first time the Jinling disciples had seen so many core forging cultivators gather together. The content of the discussion was extensive and soon, the blood condensation disciples were attracted. In the end, the hundreds of disciples in front of the Heaven's Spirit Hall were divided into groups according to their preferences. They gathered around the enlightened masters and listened to them talk about the Tao. It was a different story. Originally, Lu Ping's Tao preaching session was supposed to end on the 7th day. However, no one expected such an incident to occur. More and more Jinling core forging cultivators participated. After a full 3 days, this unexpected Tao preaching session was ended by Tian Fan Laozu's personal intervention. However, Tian Fan Laozu ordered that after the Jinling disciple ceremony, there would be a 6-day Tao preaching session for core forging cultivators. It was mainly targeted at blood condensation cultivators. After the preaching session, there would be a Tao preaching session for 3 days. It was mainly targeted at core forging cultivators, but blood condensation cultivators were also allowed to listen. The session would last for a total of 9 days. Lu Ping didn't think that his unintentional action would create a tradition of Jinling. However, at this moment, Lu Ping wasn't interested in these things. After the Tao preaching session, Lu Ping originally wanted to visit second senior sister, Li Xuanru. However, from second senior sister's disciple, he found out that second senior sister had left Tianling Mountain under the orders of master for many years. Not only second senior sister, third senior sister Zhao Xuanji and fourth senior sister Wang Xianjing had also left Tianling Mountain. They hadn't returned to Tianling Mountain for many years. Without any other choice, Lu Ping could only return to Huangli Island alone. However, just as Lu Ping stepped onto the teleportation array to Huangli Island, a golden light shot straight towards Lu Ping. Lu Ping frowned and grabbed the light in his hand. It was a golden sound transmission magic sword. Lu Ping scanned it with his divine sense and his expression changed. He quickly flew towards Chi Mei Mansion at the top of Tianling Mountain. This was Tian Fan Laozu and Tian Shui Laozu's residence. When Lu Ping arrived, the 3 Laozus, Tian Fan, Tian Jiang, and Tian Lu had already arrived. Below them stood Daoist Guoxian Shan, Daoist Xian Shu, and a dozen other late-stage core forging cultivators who had stayed behind to guard Tianling Mountain. Seeing Lu Ping enter, many late-stage core forging cultivators were surprised, but they didn't say anything. Guoxian Shan and Daoist Xian Shu both had heavy expressions on their faces. Lu Ping's heart thumped. It seemed that something big had happened. Sure enough, Tian Fan Laozu's expression was solemn. The moment he opened his mouth, everyone standing in the palace jumped in fright. I called everyone here to inform everyone of a grievous news. Martial nephew Xian Shu has come to report that martial nephew Li Xuanin's soul lamp suddenly extinguished. It was like a bolt from the blue. Qi Mei Palace suddenly became silent. However, the atmosphere inside the palace was terrifyingly quiet. It was as if Qi Mei Palace had turned into a jar of oil that would explode at any time. Chapter 449. After Lu Ping left Qi Mei Palace, he directly returned to Huangli Island. After thinking for a while, Lu Ping directly sent a few sound transmission magic swords out of the island. After thinking about it, the news of Daoist Li Xuanin's death couldn't be hidden for long. It wouldn't be long before the entire North Sea's cultivation world received the news. Thus, he called Chen Lian over and gave him some instructions. After that, Chen Lian left Huangli Island with a solemn expression. Just as Lu Ping was about to give some instructions to Hu Lili, he heard Jiang Tianlin Laozu's voice, ordering Lu Ping to meet him. Lu Ping knew that the news of Daoist Li Xuanin's death was most likely already known by Tianlin Laozu. As expected, after seeing Lu Ping, Tianlin Laozu said with a gloomy expression, "I already know about Daoist Li Xuanin's death." Just now, Martial Aunt Tian Shui sent news from Huanyu Island. Xianling Sect's Daoshi Laozu returned with serious injuries. He claimed that he was ambushed by junior brother Daoshi and the demon race cultivator Aou. During the battle, Aou suddenly switched sides and heavily injured Daoshi Laozu. Daoshi Laozu took the opportunity to escape. I don't know what happened after that, but it seems like junior brother Daoshi Laozu was killed by the demon cultivator Aou. When Lu Ping heard the name Aou, he was clearly stunned. Previously, when Lu Ping had Dugui infiltrate the demon race, he had heard the name Aou. At that time, it seemed that the East Sea demon race had sent over an important item. In the end, the North Sea demon race decided to give this item to Aou. Lu Ping had even reported this matter to the sect. Lu Ping's mind churned as he thought of the mysterious middle-aged cultivator he saw outside the clear stream cave abode. Could that person be Aou? But in this way, didn't it mean that the Black Yin Daoist's wife was once a demon cultivator? If Yin Xianchu was the Black Yin Daoist's son, didn't that mean that Yin Xianchu was the descendant of a human and a demon? Lu Ping felt dizzy, but his thinking didn't seem to be affected. On the contrary, it seemed to be running faster, and one speculation after another appeared in Lu Ping's mind. That day, Aou addressed Black Yin sect master as brother-in-law. Obviously, Aou's sister was Black Yin sect master's former wife. Moreover, Black Yin sect master's demon wife must have died. That day, Aou provoked Black Yin sect master with revenge. Clearly, Black Yin sect master's wife was killed by someone. And from the current situation, this enemy was very likely Xianling sect's Daoshi Laozu. The reason why Master Mysterious Yin had endured for so many years, other than Daoshi Laozu's tyrannical strength as Dharma idol Laozu, it was also because of his wife's identity as a demon. The human and demon races had been opposing each other since ancient times, but Black Yin sect master had created this kind of relationship between a human and a demon. This was more or less a taboo in the cultivation world. When the time came, it would be difficult for Jinling to stand up for him. Everything was deduced in Lu Ping's mind, but the doubts in his heart grew. Since Black Yin sect master and Aou had joined forces to sneak attack Daoshi Laozu, why did Aou turn against them after they succeeded? Was Daoshi Laozu lying, or did something else happen? Black Yin sect master had joined forces with a demon cultivator to sneak attack Xianling sect's Laozu. How big of a storm would this cause in the North Sea's cultivation world? Would Xianling sect take advantage of the situation to incite the North Sea's cultivators and magnify this matter into a collusion between Jinling and the demon race? Would they join forces with the North Sea's cultivation world to suppress Jinling? Also, did his good friend Yin Xianchu know the truth of the matter? And what kind of impact would this matter have on him? Lu Ping was frightened. Previously, he was worried that Yin Xianchu would go out to seek revenge because of Black Yin sect master's death. Thus, He had sent a sound transmission sword to a few of his good friends, asking them to take care of Yin Xianchu. He had even sent Chen Lian to personally make a trip. However, if Yin Xuanchu's identity as a descendant of the human and demon races was exposed, he would immediately become the target of the entire cultivation world. At that time, in order to not be passive in the cultivation world, Zhenling would most likely sacrifice Yin Xianchu. If Lu Ping's speculation was true, then his good friends' good intentions of taking care of Yin Xianchu would instead backfire. Lu Ping's heart was burning, and an anxious expression inadvertently appeared on his face. Tianlin Laozu suddenly asked, "Did you think of something?" Startled, Lu Ping hurriedly suppressed the thoughts in his heart. After thinking for a while, he asked, "Is what Xianling sect's Daoshi Laozu said true? Will Xianling sect take the opportunity to attack our sect in the North Sea cultivation world?" Tianlin Laozu smiled in relief, but still said solemnly, "As a Dharma phase cultivator, Daoshi wouldn't go so far as to lie about this matter. I'm afraid Xianling sect will also come to our sect for an explanation. However, Xianling sect can't do anything to us now. At present, other than the late core forging cultivators who are in charge of guarding the place, the other late core forging cultivators in Tianling Mountain have all gone out to the sea to search for junior brother Xian Yin's corpse. At the same time, they are also tracking Aou's traces. Our sect will definitely not let this matter go. Our sect will definitely avenge junior brother Xian Yin's death. And no matter what the truth is, no matter who is involved, and no matter which force is involved, in the North Sea cultivation world, anyone who dares to plot against our sect like this will have to pay the price." Lu Ping's blood was boiling after hearing Tianlin Laozu's seemingly unreasonable words of protection. This was the embodiment of a sect's cohesiveness and cohesiveness. It often manifested in the unreasonableness of a sect, and they were united against outsiders. Lu Ping tried his best to calm himself down, and asked Tianlin Laozu, "Grandmaster, what is the relationship between Aou and junior brother Xian Yin?" Tianlin Laozu looked at Lu Ping and said, "Don't worry about this for now. You are about to head out to the sea that Dao Shi mentioned. I know that you have a few accomplished demon pets, and when the time comes, you will need to borrow your demon pets to track Aou under the obstruction of the demon clan. Right now, the few Laozu of our sect have all headed out to the open sea to confront the Dharma power of the demon clan, Laozu, and have no time to attend to other matters. After Aou ambushed junior brother Xian Yin, in order to avoid being hunted down by our sect, he will definitely head to the deep sea to hide in the demon territory. That is the base camp of the demon clan. You and the others must intercept Aou before he escapes back to the deep sea demon territory. Otherwise, if Aou escapes back, when he enters the Dharma stage, it will be even more difficult to avenge junior brother Xian Yin." Lu Ping hesitated for a while, but still retreated from Tianlin Laozu's cave. Tianlin Laozu's gaze was deep, and rays of light shone from his eyes. Then, he suddenly disappeared from the cave. When Lu Ping left the cave, he hurriedly found Hu Lili and Zheng Jia and told them the gist of the matter. Ignoring their gasps of surprise, he said anxiously, "I didn't think too much about it before, but now it seems that junior brother Xian Chu's identity as a demon clan bloodline can't be concealed. When the time comes, it will be fine if the sect protects junior brother Xian Chu, but if things don't go well, and someone wants to harm junior brother Xian Chu, I'm afraid that even the elders of our sect will not be able to directly intervene. When the time comes, it will be up to us, who are friends." Zheng Jia patted Lu Ping's shoulder and said with the spirit of brotherhood, "Don't worry, I know what to do." Ever since Lu Ping's cultivation rose higher and higher, his status within the sect became more and more prominent. Cultivators of the same level as Lu Ping became more and more respectful towards him. Even among his own good friends, there were few like Zheng Jia, who dared to pat Lu Ping's shoulder and speak in a carefree manner. However, this feeling made Lu Ping feel very gratified. Lu Ping nodded and said, "There are many complicated matters on Huangli Island. I will still need senior sister Hu to stay here and look after junior brother Xian Chu. As for junior brother Xian Chu, I will need senior sister Zheng to go over and tell the others about my intentions. If the situation turns bad, you must protect junior brother Xian Chu's life. After sending Zheng Jia off, Lu Ping thought for a moment and still felt uneasy. So, he left the House of Gold for Hu Lili and said, this time, the commotion is not small. There is an 80 to 90% chance that Grand Master Tian Lin will leave Huangli Island to confront the demon race's Laozu. If that happens, the guards on Huangli Island will definitely be empty. Guan Yu and Lu Qiner will be in the House of Gold. If anything happens, the two of them will be your strong support. At the same time, Huangli Island's Grand Protective Array must be activated at all times. Hu Lili also knew the severity of the situation. She said in a deep voice, don't worry. Huangli Island is your blood, sweat, and tears. I will definitely protect it with my life. Moreover, the number of spiritual veins on Huangli Island has increased to 6, which will support the activation of the Grand Protective Array. There will no longer be a lack of spiritual energy. Furthermore, Guan Yu and Lu Qiner's cultivation base is above mine. In this way, even if Chen Lian and Zheng Jia are not on the island, I can still protect Huangli Island. Seeing Hu Lili's solemn expression, Lu Ping smiled and said, there is no need to be so serious. Save the people and lose the land. Both the people and the land will survive. There is no reason for you to disregard your life just because of this island. So what if you lose it? If I can conquer Huangli Island once, I can do it a second time and a third time. After bidding farewell to Hu Lili, Lu Ping left Huangli Island. Just as he was about to rush towards the place where Xian Ling Sect's Dao Shi Laozu was ambushed, a bold idea suddenly appeared in his mind. He turned around and flew towards the direction of the Clear Stream Cave. In the depths of the sea where the Clear Stream Cave was located, a bright pearl the size of a wicker basket was suspended above Lu Ping's head. It allowed Lu Ping to almost double his speed in the sea. One must know that Lu Ping specialized in the North Sea wave listening spell. He was best at flying in the water. Compared to the water spirits like the green sea snakes, he was only slightly slower. However, when Lu Ping summoned the water moon repelling pearl above his head, his speed had already far surpassed the 3 green sea snakes. Outside the Clear Stream Cave was the place where Lu Ping had found the mysterious Yin Master and the middle-aged cultivator who was suspected to be Aou. Lu Ping first used his divine sense to cover a radius of 8 to 9 miles of the sea. After finding nothing, Lu Ping came to a corner of an underwater valley that was overgrown with seaweed. Lu Ping used the water manipulation spell. The seaweed in the corner and the seaweed on the ground seemed to be imprisoned. They slowly floated upwards, revealing a small teleportation array hidden underneath. This was the teleportation array that Lu Ping had used to watch the middle-aged cultivator leave. Lu Ping once again found the simple stone armor from the storage ring and put it on his body. Then he released Samling and De Gui from the spirit beast bag. The 4 monster pets also seemed to understand that Lu Ping was going to take a risk. Even Samling was not as naughty as he used to be. He quietly followed behind Lu Ping and watched Lu Ping put a few top-grade spirit stones into the array. He stamped his foot and activated the spirit stones with a surge of qi. The teleportation array was activated. A white light flashed. Lu Ping and the 4 spirit pets had disappeared, leaving only the seaweed floating above the teleportation array slowly falling down, once again covering the teleportation array in the mud and weeds of the seabed. Chapter 450. At the bottom of the sea, behind a huge coral, Lu Ping quietly lay there and looked at everything in front of him. After a while, Lu Ping turned his head and looked at Samling behind him, then looked at Dagui who was further away and asked, Dagui, are you sure this is Dao Master Aou's cave abode? Lu Dagui moved his 4 legs, his huge head stretched and shrank in the turtle shell, and said sullenly, the terrain here is exactly the same as when I came with Dao Master Lu Hai. There's no mistake. The underwater valley ahead is where his cave abode is, but his cave abode is heavily guarded, and there's a cave protection formation protecting it. I'm afraid it's very difficult for Master to enter. After Lu Ping came here through the hidden teleportation formation outside the cave abode, Lu Dagui suddenly recognized that this place was in the deep sea demon region that he went to with Dao Master Lu Hai last time, near the location of Dao Master Ao Yu's cave abode. Lu Ping knew that his previous speculation was wrong. Now that Ao Yu killed Dao Master Li Xianyin and faced the pursuit of Zhenling's sect cultivators, he certainly didn't have time to return to his cave abode. However, since Lu Ping was here, there was no reason to return empty-handed. Lu Ping thought for a while and let Samling transform into his original form. His shrunken body climbed onto Lu Dagui's body, and then let Lu Dagui swim to Dao Master Ao Yu's cave abode, while Lu Ping followed behind. Suddenly, there was a commotion at the entrance of the valley ahead. Lu Ping knew that Dagui and the others had already attracted the attention of the demon race guarding the cave abode. Lu Ping reached into the spirit pet bag and dug. De Bao just came out, and before he could celebrate his regained freedom, a terrifying pressure came to him. De Bao, who opened his mouth to breathe, only let out 2 bubbles. A pale yellow light flashed on his body and wrapped him in it, but this layer of pale yellow light shield was quickly crushed by the pressure of the deep sea. De Bao looked at his master helplessly. Lu Ping had no choice but to stuff the water-repelling moon pearl into De Bao's mouth. As the terrifying pressure around him lightened, De Bao immediately became active. Lu Ping gave De Bao a few instructions and then pointed to the location of De Bao's cave residence. De Bao raised his forelimbs and actually made a gesture of patting his chest to reassure Lu Ping. Then, he plunged into the underwater mountain range, leaving behind a somewhat incredulous Lu Ping. How could De Bao support his fat pig-like body with 2 hind legs? After a long time, Lu Ping realized that he was in the sea and not on land. After a while, Lu Dagui's body, which was almost 10 feet in circumference, swam towards Lu Ping's direction. Lu Ping frowned and said, "Where is Samling?" Lu Dagui said helplessly, "The 3 of them took advantage of the time when I used the excuse of visiting Dao Master Ao Yu to attract the guards of the cave residence and quietly ran into the valley." Only then did Lu Ping remember that after Samling advanced to the core forging stage, he comprehended a magical power inherited from the green sea snake's bloodline, called water transformation. It could turn his whole body into a pool of invisible water and quietly sneak into the valley. Lu Ping shook his head and smiled bitterly. "These 3 mischievous guys always cause trouble for me. Get ready to help them. The magical power of water transformation can't last for too long. If the valley is heavily guarded, the 3 of them will definitely be discovered." Sure enough, not long after, there was a sudden scream from the demon beasts in the valley. Turbulent waves of magic power were followed by a series of roars. Taking advantage of the chaos, Lu Ping broke into the valley and found that it was already a pot of porridge. Not far away, there were several corpses lying on the ground. Most of them were demon beasts in the blood condensation stage. Lu Ping extended his divine sense and immediately captured Samling's current situation. At this time, Samling was surrounded by demon beasts. However, the demon beasts surrounding them didn't seem to be in a hurry to kill them. Instead, they formed an encirclement. A mid-stage core forging stage demon cultivator stood in the middle of the encirclement and fought with Samling. In the distance, there were a few mid-stage core forging stage demon beasts who seemed to be watching the battle. At the same time, they were pointing and talking excitedly. Lu Ping suddenly felt relieved. Obviously, these demon beasts thought Samling was a child who had mistakenly entered this place to play. Moreover, Samling had cultivated to the shape-shifting stage at such a young age. Obviously, he had a relatively noble bloodline among the demon beasts. He might even be a junior from a large clan who came to seek novelty. These demon beasts naturally didn't want to offend him. Samling followed Lu Ping everywhere. Although he had only cultivated for a short period of time, he had seen a lot and was quite clever. Naturally, he had already discovered the intentions of the surrounding demon beasts. He immediately realized that this was a good opportunity to attract the attention of the guarding demon beasts and prepare for Lu Ping to sneak into the cave mansion. Therefore, Samling's attacks became more and more fierce. For a moment, the mid-stage core forging stage demon beasts were defeated by Samling, who was only at the first stage of the core forging stage. In the hands of the three spirits, there were now magic weapons carefully refined by Chen Lian. In the hands of Lu Qing was a 30-foot-long wind forest whip, in the hands of Lu Hai was a huge heaven halberd, and in the hands of Lu Linger was a pair of exquisite and sharp ice daggers. Lu Hai was the main attacker with the heaven halberd in his hand. Lu Qing was floating in the sea, and a wind forest whip was restraining the middle stage core forging realm demon cultivator on the opposite side. Lu Linger was like a ghost, appearing and disappearing around the demon cultivator. The pair of ice daggers were like the poisonous fangs in her mouth. Once the opponent came into contact with her daggers, a cold chill would pass through the opponent's clothes and magical weapon and go straight into the body, as if to freeze the opponent's Jin Yuan. The demon beasts who dealt with Samling cursed. Although his cultivation was much higher than Samling's, he was restrained in the battle against Samling. It was difficult for him to exert his strength. Moreover, the three little snakes in front of him were the children of unknown families. They were so difficult to deal with when they joined hands. Originally, the demon beasts wanted to play with these three children, but he did not expect that he would become the object of ridicule by these fellow cultivators around him. Lu Ping sneaked into the depths of the valley with the art of deceiving the heavens and crossing the sea. He secretly sighed that these demon beasts guarding the valley were so lax. However, when he arrived at the valley, Lu Ping's eyes flashed with blue light. Looking at this defensive formation, Lu Ping understood the reason. Although Lu Ping was not a formation master, he often exchanged cultivation experiences with Hu Lili, so Lu Ping was no stranger to formations. On the contrary, because of the mysterious purple jade slip that Lu Ping brought out of Fei Ling Island, some of the fantastic ideas that Lu Ping proposed had inspired Hu Lili a lot, causing Hu Lili to often sigh that it was a pity that Lu Ping did not become a formation master. Looking at the cave mansion shrouded in white light, Lu Ping frowned. Lu Ping had only seen a formation of this level in some of the inheritance places on Tian Ling Mountain. Moreover, because of the existence of Tian Ling Mountain's defensive formation, these formations guarding the inheritance places were not fully activated. Even so, the power of those formations still surprised Lu Ping. But now, what Lu Ping was facing was a fully activated formation. Even if Dharma form Laozu came, it would not be easy to break this formation easily. Lu Ping hid in an inconspicuous corner at the bottom of the valley. He stretched out his hand and gently knocked on the ground. De Bao, who had the water and moon avoiding pearl in his mouth, drilled out of the ground with a dejected expression. As Lu Ping expected, such a powerful defensive formation had obviously isolated De Bao's earth meld technique. Daguay had determined that this was the cave mansion of Taoist master Aou. When Taoist master Lu Hai used Daguay as a mount at the bottom of the sea, he personally handed over the treasures sent from the East Sea to Taoist master Aou here. Just when Lu Ping was a little helpless, there was a sudden burst of cheers in the valley. The battle between the Samling and the middle stage core forging realm beast cultivator had been decided. The middle stage core forging realm cultivator had just gotten rid of Lu Qingfeng's forest whip, but his shoulder was pierced by Lu Linger's ice dagger. A bitter cold penetrated into his Jin Yuan, causing half of the middle stage core forging realm beast cultivator's body to be numb. Lu Hai took the opportunity to pass the halberd to the beast cultivator's throat. The noise of the surrounding beast cultivators lasted for a long time. The sound of ridicule and abuse was heard everywhere. Obviously, it was because a middle stage core forging realm cultivator had been defeated by three little guys who had just advanced to the core forging realm not long ago. Just when Lu Ping had the intention to retreat, the protective formation at the bottom of the valley actually operated on its own. A bright light appeared from the formation and penetrated outside the cave mansion. Obviously, someone was going to come out of the cave mansion. Lu Ping was shocked. Is there someone in the cave mansion? Could it be that Taoist Master Ao had already returned to his cave mansion? At this time, Lu Ping was so close to the protective formation. Even with the rock armor, Lu Ping was not sure that he could avoid the detection of a 9th-level core forging realm master. Thinking of the power that Lu Ping saw in the distance that day, Taoist Master Xianin and the middle-aged cultivator who might be Taoist Master Ao showed. Although Lu Ping's cultivation had improved, he also knew that he was not an opponent of Taoist Master Xianin, a 9th-level core forging realm cultivator. Back then, Taoist Master Ao had yet to reach the gold core stage. However, he was able to stand up to Taoist Master Li Xianin as an equal. If Taoist Master Ao had also reached the gold core stage, his strength would likely be above Taoist Master Li Xianin. Lu Ping slapped Dabao into the ground. At the same time, he carefully retracted his aura and hid in a corner, not daring to move. At the same time, a water whip appeared in his hand. At present, the golden scale sword was still in Taoist Master Enigma Flame's hand. After thinking about it for a long time, he was not confident that he could personally upgrade the golden scale sword. Instead, he handed it over to his teacher. The activation of the mansion protecting array had clearly alarmed the Yao guards who were watching the battle between Samling and the other Yao cultivators. Including the Yao cultivator that Samling defeated earlier, there were a total of 3 mid-stage core forging realm Yao cultivators and 5 early-stage core forging realm Yao cultivators. The rest were half-step transformation realm Yao cultivators at the blood condensation realm. They all had strange appearances. Some had the head of a shrimp, some had the head of a human, and some had the body of a fish. However, when they saw the activation of the mansion protecting array, their expressions turned solemn and they stood up straight. A passageway appeared from the bottom of the valley, passing through the mansion protecting array. Lu Ping narrowed his eyes. Traces of cyan light seemed to flash within them as he looked at the passageway. A young cultivator, who appeared to be about the same age as Lu Ping, walked out with an arrogant expression on his face. When Lu Ping saw that this cultivator's face was 80% similar to that of Taoist Master Ao, he breathed a long sigh of relief. It was just a 6th-level core forging realm cultivator. Additionally, he did not notice Lu Ping. The young Yao cultivator frowned and turned to look behind him. It seemed as though he had overlooked something. However, he then turned to look at the scattered cultivators in the valley and shouted, "Why is it so noisy?" The cultivators in the valley were as silent as cicadas in winter. The young cultivator's eyes turned sharp and he immediately turned to look at Samling, who was standing alone in the middle of the valley. His face sank greatly and he pointed at Samling and exclaimed, "By green sea snake." His voice had only just faded when a cold killing intent seeped out from the back of his head. Chapter 451. The cultivator who had just come out of the cave house actually recognized the identity of the Samling green sea snake. Taking advantage of his shock, Lu Ping made a prompt decision and lashed the water whip in his hand at the cultivator's back. When the cultivator saw that there were actually 3 green sea snakes in front of his cave house, he was shocked. When he felt something strange behind him, it was too late to dodge. "Pa!" A crisp sound was followed by a bone-piercing pain. Although Ao Wushuang tried his best to dodge, Lu Ping's water whip still shattered Ao Wushuang's protective energy barrier. If it weren't for the fact that the monster race's body was naturally stronger than the human race's, Lu Ping's water whip would have taken half his life. Ao Wushuang endured the severe pain and rushed forward. At the same time, he turned around and looked back, shouting, "You are..." However, before he could ask, Lu Ping's water whip had already come for the second time. Ao Wushuang's face changed, and an ice shield appeared in front of him. "Pa!" Another crisp sound was heard, and an inch-deep whip mark suddenly appeared on the entire ice shield. At the same time, a huge force came from the ice shield, pushing Ao Wushuang's body back again. At this time, the monster cultivators in the valley had already rushed toward Lu Ping. Obviously, they wanted to help Ao Wushuang. However, what they didn't see was the smile on Lu Ping's face. Just when the three middle-stage core forging stage monster cultivators rushed in front of Ao Wushuang to protect him, they saw Lu Ping's expression was solemn. He suddenly raised his hands and shouted, "Rise!" The monster cultivators running in front of Ao Wushuang all felt their bodies suddenly sink. When they looked up, they didn't know when a huge 9th-rank white jade lotus appeared above their heads. The lotus slowly rotated in the seawater above the monster cultivators. Each petal was flashing with white spiritual light, and spiritual patterns were flickering on the lotus, forming a mysterious pattern. Ao Wushuang broke free from the protection of the monster cultivators, pointed at Lu Ping, and shouted, "Human cultivator, kill him." The monster cultivators under Ao Wushuang's command were fierce. Two middle-stage core forging stage monster cultivators took the lead and rushed toward Lu Ping. Lu Ping had a sneer on his face, and he said softly, "Ding Hai." The white jade lotus hovering above everyone suddenly spat out 12 huge pearls from the center of the flower. The pearls flew around the valley. As soon as Lu Ping's voice fell, the whole sea in the valley was imprisoned. Many monster cultivators in the valley couldn't move. Two monster cultivators who were about to rush toward Lu Ping slowly fell to the ground. Light of true essence flowed on their bodies, but they still couldn't break Lu Ping's imprisonment. Lu Ping was quite satisfied with the power of his life-bonded magic treasure. Especially after Lu Ping used the 9th-rank white jade lotus as his life-bonded array diagram and the 12 gentian beads to finally perfect the 12 gentian array, the power of Lu Ping's life-bonded magic treasure reached a higher level. Before he used the 9th-rank white jade lotus as his life-bonded array diagram, the 12 gentian beads were powerful, but every time Lu Ping used them, he had to spend a lot of divine sense to first construct a divine sense array diagram within the range of the 12 gentian beads to control the operation of the 12 gentian array. Although the power was not small, the consumption on Lu Ping's divine sense and true essence was really unbearable for Lu Ping. Now, with the 9th-rank white jade lotus as the core array diagram, Lu Ping only needed to spend his true essence and divine sense to activate the array diagram, and he could easily control the 12 gentian array diagram. Although the consumption of true essence and divine sense was still worlds apart compared to other people's life-bonded magic treasures, for Lu Ping, who had far more vigorous true essence and tyrannical divine sense than cultivators of the same level, it was nothing. Not to mention that the perfect gentian array diagram was much more powerful than before. Lu Ping had secluded himself for 5 years on Huangli Island, and then cultivated for a year in the Pill Pavilion's land of inheritance to break through to the 5th layer of the core forging realm. During this time, Lu Ping finally engraved the 4th restriction on the 12 gentian beads, upgrading the 12 gentian beads to the level of a psychic magic treasure. However, the 9th-rank white jade lotus array diagram still only had 3 restrictions, so the upgrade of the array diagram was even more difficult than the 12 gentian beads. Moreover, Lu Ping did not have a suitable restriction in his hands. Even so, Lu Ping's 9th-rank white jade lotus was a true flower king that had been nurtured for 9,000 years, and its quality was even higher than Lu Ping's 12 gentian beads. Although it had not advanced to the level of a psychic magic treasure, its power was no less than that of the gentian beads. Lu Ping's life-bonded magic treasure immediately imprisoned 4 mid-stage core forging realm cultivators of the same level as him. The many demon cultivators that followed behind him were immediately frightened, and those who were quick-witted immediately tried to slip away. Unexpectedly, just as they turned around, they were caught by a wind forest whip, and then a large halberd slashed horizontally at them, immediately splitting them in half. Lu Ping also swung the water whip in his hand. The eyes of the 2 mid-stage core forging realm demon cultivators that rushed towards him were filled with fear, but their bodies could not break free from Lu Ping's imprisonment. They wanted to open their mouths to howl, but found that their mouths did not listen to them. Immediately afterward, they felt their bodies become light, and the world suddenly turned upside down, and then they lost consciousness. Ao Wushuang, who was imprisoned by Lu Ping, saw with his own eyes how easily his 2 subordinates were killed by the long whip magic treasure in Lu Ping's hand. He was suddenly frightened, and a fierce light flashed in his eyes. A white bead suddenly emerged from his chest, and a strange chill raged, and the surrounding seawater imprisoned by Lu Ping immediately froze into ice. Ao Wushuang's body shook, and the frozen seawater was immediately minced into a pile of broken ice by the two cold swords that appeared behind Ao Wushuang. Lu Ping's sea-calming, magical power was broken. However, Ao Wushuang had long been frightened by Lu Ping's previous method of casually killing two subordinates of similar cultivation level to his own. He had long lost the courage to fight against Lu Ping. After using the strange cold bead to break Lu Ping's imprisonment, he turned around and fled out of the valley. Dragon Ice Bead. Father, you must not let him escape. Among the Samling, Lu Linger, who was usually the most mischievous, saw the white bead and immediately shouted to Lu Ping. At the same time, she jumped forward, intending to stop Ao Wushuang. However, Ao Wushuang was, after all, a 6th-stage core forging realm expert. Among cultivators of the same level, there were few who could rival him. This time, Lu Ping had taken the initiative. The two consecutive whip attacks had seriously injured Ao Wushuang. Then, the power of the 12 Gentian Great Formation made him scared out of his wits. He had long lost the courage to fight against Lu Ping. If he didn't have the strange cold bead on him, perhaps he would have already closed his eyes and waited for death. But now, Ao Wushuang only wanted to escape. Even if Lu Linger was the Green Sea Snake, how could she be the opponent of a 6th-stage core forging realm cultivator? Not to mention that Ao Wushuang's origin was not much lower than the Green Sea Snake. When Lu Ping heard Lu Linger's shout, his heart skipped a beat. He wanted to stop Ao Wushuang from escaping. However, the mid-core forging realm cultivator who blocked Ao Wushuang's escape was also freed after Ao Wushuang broke Lu Ping's sea-calming technique. Now, in order for Ao Wushuang to escape, the mid-core forging realm cultivator desperately rushed towards Lu Ping. In desperation, Lu Ping waved the water whip in his hand. The surrounding seawater, driven by the water whip, formed a surging water wall in front of Lu Ping. The demonic cultivator, who was covering Ao Wushuang's escape, was unafraid of death. This made Lu Ping a lot more cautious. However, when the cultivator's flying sword stabbed into the water wall in front of Lu Ping, the demonic cultivator suddenly felt as if his long sword had entered a huge vortex. The flying sword began to spin involuntarily. No matter how hard the demonic cultivator shouted, he could not regain control of the flying sword. By then, Lu Ping's nether aqua sword was already in front of the demonic cultivator. Just as it was about to kill him, however, Lu Ping's expression suddenly changed. A blue light flashed out from his chest and a somewhat broken flag suddenly appeared above Lu Ping's head. Immediately after, a cracking sound rang out and the flying sword, which had almost lost control of itself, suddenly exploded. The scattered magic treasure fragments shot out in all directions. The water whip, which had been dancing like a nimble snake inside the water wall, was struck by the magic treasure fragments. Like a wounded mudfish, it no longer possessed its previous agility. The undercurrent inside the water wall could no longer stop the scattered fragments and it immediately collapsed. However, the broken flag above Lu Ping's head shone with an ink-black light. The magic treasure fragments were all embedded in this light, unable to move an inch further. Lu Ping gave a cold snort. He did not want to almost fall into the demonic cultivator's trap. His face was so cold that a layer of frost seemed to form over it. He did not even pick up the water whip that had fallen to the ground. Instead, he stared coldly at the demonic cultivator who was grinning at him. A clump of red light appeared on the demonic cultivator's chest. Next, the demonic cultivator's entire body was dyed in bright red light, making him look like a cooked prawn. The demonic cultivator wanted to blow up his gold core. Clearly, he wanted to die together with Lu Ping. However, at this moment, the human cultivator who was right in front of him coldly shouted, "God strike." The demonic cultivator felt a chill in his chest. Next, he felt as if he had lost all his strength. When he looked down, a bowl-sized hole had appeared on his chest. The demonic cultivator gave Lu Ping a look of despair before falling to the ground. In that split second, a scream was heard. Lu Linger had been sent flying by Ao Wushuang with a pair of ice swords, and Ao Wushuang had fled. Lu Qing and Lu Hai, who were blocking the other demonic cultivators, exclaimed at the same time. They put down their opponents and ran to the place where Lu Linger had fallen. Lu Ping was furious. An angry snort suddenly exploded in Ao Wushuang's mind. Ao Wushuang screamed, and his flying speed suddenly slowed down. Lu Ping had already used his flying ability and appeared behind Ao Wushuang. Ao Wushuang endured the pain in his mind, which was like being stabbed by needles and knives. He wanted to force his way away, but he suddenly found that the surrounding seawater had imprisoned him again. Ao Wushuang's heart sank. He knew that he could no longer escape, so he simply shouted, "You can't kill me. My father is the patriarch of the Ice Dragon clan, Aou. I am the only heir of the Ice Dragon clan. If you kill me, not only will my father kill you, but the entire North Sea Demon clan will also kill you." Before Ao Wushuang could finish his words, he heard a bone-chilling voice coming from behind him, "God strike." A glittering and translucent pearl drew a long shadow in the sea and shot toward Ao Wushuang. Ao Wushuang opened his mouth and spat out the cold pearl from before. He immediately blocked this gentian pearl in front of him. However, before he could rejoice, a series of sharp pain buried his consciousness. Ao Wushuang's body had been smashed by the other 11 gentian pearls. With a poof, the pearl emitting a cold white mist fell to the ground. Chapter 452. Ignoring the fleeing monsters, Lu Ping walked quickly towards Lu Linger, only to see Lu Linger lying in Lu Hai's arms, ignoring the blood overflowing from the corner of her mouth, and shouted to Lu Ping, "Father, the Ice Dragon Pearl and the storage device." Lu Ping saw that although Lu Linger was seriously injured, her spirit was still good. He knew that it was not a big deal, so he smiled and said, "They always say that Debao is a miser, but I think little Linger is the biggest miser. You don't even care about your own injury." As Lu Ping spoke, he waved his hand backwards, and the Ice Dragon Pearl and the storage device on Ao Wushuang immediately flew towards Lu Ping's hand. At this moment, Lu Linger seemed to think of something and cried eagerly, "Father, be careful of the Ice Dragon Pearl." However, Lu Linger's warning was a little late. As soon as the Ice Dragon Pearl was in his hand, Lu Ping felt a strange chill penetrating into his flesh and blood from his palm, and at the same time, following the blood flow to his heart. Along the way, it seemed to freeze Lu Ping's whole body into ice. Lu Ping let out a light, "huh" sound, and his whole body's jinqi fluctuated. The strange chill that went against the blood flow was immediately dissolved by Lu Ping's jinqi, which was smelted by Xianyuan heavy water. Seeing that Lu Ping was fine, Lu Linger breathed a sigh of relief, and suddenly felt tired. Lu Ping fed a good healing pill into Lu Linger's mouth, and was about to put Lu Linger into the spiritual beast bag to recuperate, but he heard Lu Linger say anxiously, "Father, can you let Linger have a look at the Ice Dragon Pearl?" Lu Ping smiled and said, "Not now, we are now in the abyss, the base camp of the monster race. We have made such a big noise, and dozens of monsters have escaped. I am afraid it will not be long before other monster cultivators come to kill us. We have to leave as soon as possible, so as not to be surrounded." As soon as Lu Ping's voice fell, he saw Lu Linger's small mouth pouting. Lu Ping smiled and said, "But I promise you, I will give you the Ice Dragon Pearl after we go out." Only then did Lu Linger reluctantly agree. She pointed a finger behind Lu Ping and said, "All right, but I want that pair of ice swords." Lu Ping looked at the pair of ice swords left behind by Ao Wushuang. They were his natal mystic treasures, a pair of spirit-connected mystic treasures with 4 layers of seals. However, he smiled and said, "Sure, but you will have to wait for your cultivation to increase a little. Right now, you are probably still unable to use the psychic flying sword." Lu Linger nodded and said, Ling, will definitely work hard to cultivate. Lu Ping patted Lu Ling's little head with relief, and then put her into the storage bag. Looking at Lu Qing and Lu Hai, who were standing on both sides with envious expressions, Lu Ping smiled and said, "You two little devils, even your little sister's things are coveting. Don't worry, in the future, I will find the same good things for you, but you have to work hard to cultivate." Lu Qing and Lu Hai nodded their little heads like chickens pecking rice. Lu Ping laughed and said, "You two pack up the good things of the fallen core forging stage monster cultivators. I want to see how to break this formation as soon as possible, otherwise I am afraid it will be too late." On the Golden Jiao Island in the southeast of the North Sea, the Golden Jiao Island Lord, who had already advanced to the Dharma stage a few years ago, was hosting a banquet to entertain a middle-aged cultivator. The Golden Jiao Island Lord looked at the cultivator in front of him and laughed, "Brother Ao Chuang, I didn't expect that after so many years, you would make such a big move." The half-step Dharma adept of Jinling and the Dharma adept Laozu of Xianling sect are both dead and injured. The two sects are probably at daggers drawn now, and the North Sea human race is on the verge of civil war. "I really admire you." The middle-aged cultivator, Ao Chuang, slowly put down the wine glass in his hand, and a slight smile appeared on his calm face. He said, "Brother Ao Chuang, you flatter me. I am also being selfish. That Dao Shi killed my sister with his own hands, and that Li Xianin deserves to die even more. If he had not made a solemn vow, my sister would not have married him so wholeheartedly. But the truth is that my sister has fallen, and he is still alive, and living as gloriously as the person who killed my sister. What, 3 truths and 4 spirits, true shadow, half-step Dharma adept. In my opinion, these people should have died long ago, but now it is already too late to make a move." The Golden Jiao Island Lord, Ao Chuang, laughed and said, "Well said, Brother Ao Chuang. These human cultivators are used to sweet-talking and scheming. On normal days, they fight with the demon race, and behind closed doors, they also fight among themselves. It is ridiculous and infuriating to see. None of them are good people, and it is better for them to die as soon as possible." Ao did not seem to find Ao Chuang's scolding funny at all, and continued to say slowly, "But just based on this scheme, it is not enough to cause the Jinling and Xianling sects to completely fall out. In the end, it is just the high-level practitioners of the two sects showing their fangs to each other and intimidate each other. As for the internal strife, when did the two sects stop? It is just that the intensity of the internal strife is different." When the Golden Jiao Island Lord, Ao Chuang, saw the indifferent face of enlightened Master Ao, who was known as the last hope of the Ice Dragon clan, he also showed an interested smile and said, "It seems that Brother Ao has a follow-up plan." The corner of Ao's eyes twitched, but there was a trace of invisible murderous intent in his indifferent tone. He chuckled and said, "My nephew is the offspring of a human and a demon, but my brother-in-law has been using the name of a personal disciple to cover it up. I wonder how big of a wave it will cause when this matter spreads to the human cultivation world of the North Sea." Ao Chuang, Laozu, slapped his thigh and said, "Brother Ao, good plan. Since ancient times, demons and Jinling have never coexisted with each other. Now that the North Sea's cultivation world is getting stronger and Xianling sect is getting weaker, Xianling sect will definitely not give up any excuse to suppress Jinling. As long as this news spreads, Jinling's crime of colluding with our clan will be more real. Even if the two sects do not break out into a war because of this, there will be a lot of internal strife in the dark." Ao smiled reservedly, picked up the wine cup in front of him and drank 2 mouthfuls, but unexpectedly, his face changed. What he drank was wine, but what he spat out was blood. Ao's face turned pale, and his previous elegance and restraint were immediately thrown out of the sky. He stood up abruptly and shouted, "How dare you!" Ao Chuang's face also changed. He stood up and asked, "Brother Ao, is there something wrong with the cave mansion? If there is anything you need Big Brother's help, just say it." Ao's pale face now turned black. He nodded and said in a cold voice, my son Ao Wushuang is probably dead. Someone broke into my ice dragon cave mansion. Ao Chuang was shocked at first, then he let out an ah. Then, he flew into a rage and said, "Who dares to be so bold? Don't they know that the Ice Dragon clan is under the protection of my primordial giant crocodile clan? If I, Ao Chuang, find out, I will definitely slaughter his clan." Then, Ao Chuang seemed to think of something and forced himself to calm down. He said, "Brother Ao Yu, I am sorry for nephew Wushuang's death." Ao Yu seemed to have not heard Ao Chuang's furious roar earlier. Instead, he was quietly thinking about something. When he heard Ao Chuang's words, he suddenly laughed in a strange manner, causing Ao Chuang to be stunned. He asked in a somewhat confused manner, "Brother Ao Yu, you are..." Ao Yu's face was full of smiles, but his mouth was so cold that it could condense into ice. He said, "Brother Ao Chuang, it may not be a member of my clan." Ao Chuang was stunned. He shook his head and said, "You are saying that someone has sneaked into the deep-sea demon region?" Absolutely impossible. The deep-sea demon region is heavily guarded. No one can quietly sneak into the deep-sea demon region without being discovered. Ao Yu still had an unpredictable smile on his face. He smiled at Ao Chuang and said, "Brother Ao Chuang, thank you for your hospitality. I want to return to the cave house as soon as possible and personally tear the murderer of my son into pieces." Ao Chuang was stunned, but he did not immediately agree. Instead, he said, "Brother Ao Yu, I know you are eager for revenge. However, at this time, Xinling's late core forging realm masters are looking for your traces in the entire North Sea cultivation world. I am afraid that there are already spies of various sects lying in ambush outside Golden Dragon Island. Once you leave Golden Dragon Island, I am afraid that you will immediately face the pursuit of Xinling's cultivators." Ao Chuang looked at Ao Yu's disapproving expression and continued, "How about this? The situation in the Ice Dragon's cave house has already attracted the attention of our clan's cultivators in the demon region. I believe that there will be people going to investigate very soon. I will now send a manifestation talisman down and strictly order our clan's experts to pursue and kill the murderer of nephew Wushuang. At the same time, I will order people to protect the Ice Dragon's cave house. What do you think?" Ao Yu shook his head and said, "Thank you, Brother Ao Chuang. However, I still need to hurry to the vicinity of Huanyu Island as soon as possible. If the person who invaded the Ice Dragon's cave house is really a human or demon cultivator, then this person will definitely appear near Huanyu Island." Ao Chuang wanted to ask for the reason, but when he opened his mouth, he said, "Huanyu Island? You must not go there. That is the territory of that crazy woman, Tian Shui. Once you appear there, she will dare to violate the manifestation Laozu's rule of not participating in battles and kill you. I, your elder brother, do not have the ability to rescue you from under her hands. At that time, if you die, even our clan's Laozu will not be able to do anything to her." Ao Yu smashed the table in front of him with a punch. The cold light in his eyes became sharper and the corner of his eyes twitched more intensely. However, the smile on his face also became brighter. He opened his mouth and said, "Good, good, good." 3 words. Endless killing intent pervaded the Golden Flood Dragon Laozu's cave house. Immediately after, he spat out a mouthful of blood and shouted, "Wushuang, my son, you are killing me." At this time, Lu Ping, who was in the valley, naturally didn't know that Daoist Ao Yu, who was hiding in the Golden Flood Dragon Island, had almost gone crazy because of Ao Wushuang's death. At this moment, he was standing in front of the cave house that was surrounded by the mansion protecting Grand Array, thinking about how to open the mansion protecting Grand Array as soon as possible. This was because Lu Ping knew that he didn't have much time here. He was afraid that the experts of the demon domain had already rushed to the Ice Dragon cave house. Now, I can only hope that De Bao can do it. Just at the moment when Ao Wushuang came out of the cave house, De Bao took the risk to sneak into the cave house through the passage that Ao Wushuang opened. At that time, Ao Wushuang was attracted by the movement in the valley, so he didn't notice Debao's trace. However, this mansion protecting grand array was obviously very powerful. Even if Debao found the array disk, he would be helpless. Lu Ping thought about it. Now, he could only break the mansion protecting grand array by force. Hopefully, he could make it in time. Chapter 453. In front of the Ice Dragon Immortal Cave, Lu Ping held the 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash in his hand for the first time. The 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash slowly rose in Lu Ping's hand, and a colorful light flickered on the surface of the calabash, as if there was a great power brewing within it. Lu Ping's face was dignified, and his whole body's Jin Yuan was poured into the 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash in midair, and the surface of the 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash was surrounded by more and more colorful lightning. Just when the entire 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash was wrapped in lightning, Lu Ping's eyes were fixed on the defensive array in front of him, and he shouted, "Fall!" Boom! Crackle! With a loud noise, 7 different colored lightning burst out from the 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash, which had already turned into a ball of lightning. The 7 lightning bolts were like a lightning rope in the air, entangled and twisted together, and a 7-colored lightning bolt fell on the defensive array with lightning speed. After that, there was a deafening explosion, and the surrounding seawater, with the underwater valley as the center, a strong wave spread in all directions. Lu Ping had already realized at the moment the 7-colored lightning bolt fell, and the broken water control flag had already been raised above his head. However, the power of the 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash, which had already reached the small success stage, still left Lu Ping dumbfounded. This was not close to the power of a great magical power, this was simply a real great magical power. Even if Lu Ping had the golden scale sword in his hand, and used the 100 rivers flow into the sea sword formation, its power was only this much. However, before Lu Ping could wake up from the excitement of having a great magical power again, the tenacity of the defensive array in front of him made Lu Ping feel somewhat helpless. The entire protective array formation seemed to have been weakened by Lu Ping's attacks, but it didn't break through the array formation. The entire array formation was still operating in an orderly manner, and it seemed that the array formation was connected to the underground spirit vein. If Lu Ping continued his attacks, the array formation would quickly recover with the support of the spirit vein. Lu Ping dared not be negligent. Debao was still trapped inside the Grotto Mansion. If he could not break the great array protecting the Grotto Mansion before the reinforcements from the Yao clan arrived, not only would he be unable to obtain the treasures inside, Debao would also be trapped inside the Grotto Mansion. The 7 Thunder Treasures gourd was once again wrapped in a ball of lightning. With a loud bang, the great defensive formation was shaken again. This time, the great defensive formation seemed to be on the verge of collapse. Lu Ping made a prompt decision. Ignoring the temporary impediment of the circulation of the true essence in his body caused by the full use of the 7 Thunder Treasures gourd, a 9th-grade white jade lotus rose from his chest and stopped above the great defensive formation. The 12 gentian beads slowly rotated around the white jade lotus. Lu Ping took a deep breath and circulated the true essence in his body. The impediment caused by the continuous use of the great magical power immediately recovered. Lu Ping stretched out his palm and clenched it tightly. He shouted in a low voice, suppressing mountain. 12 dark blue true essences shot out from the white jade lotus and connected with the 12 surrounding pearls. At the same time, the 12 gentian beads also emitted a dark blue light and connected with each other. The entire natal magic weapon formed a tight formation above the great defensive formation. At this moment, the white jade lotus along with the 12 pearls suddenly sank down. A dull roar spread in all directions. The light of the entire great defensive formation suddenly dimmed. It seemed as if a gust of wind could blow the entire formation away. Lu Ping's face just showed a hint of joy. However, a long whistling sound came from afar. Lu Ping's complexion changed. He thought that it was coming so fast. Although Lu Ping was anxious, his spirit became more and more calm. His eyes shone with a bright blue light. The veins of the formation that he couldn't clearly see before were gradually revealed under the gaze of the 3 pure true eyes. Lu Ping's heart leaped with joy. He slowly uttered 2 words, God strike. The 12 gentian beads collided with the 12 flaws that Lu Ping had just discovered. At this moment, a majestic roar came from afar. Who dares to cause trouble in the deep-sea demon domain? As soon as the voice fell, a spiritual sense had already spread in the direction of Lu Ping. Lu Ping's expression turned cold. The person who came was obviously a late-stage core forging cultivator. Lu Ping's heart moved. A spiritual sense had already formed a spiritual sense barrier around Lu Ping. When the opponent's spiritual sense wanted to explore Lu Ping's identity, it was firmly blocked by Lu Ping's spiritual sense. Now Lu Ping could only temporarily delay the exposure of his identity as a human. Otherwise, once the demon race found out that the deep-sea demon domain was actually infiltrated by a human cultivator, then it wouldn't just be this cultivator, but the entire deep-sea demon domain would be alarmed. Sure enough, the opponent's spiritual sense was blocked by Lu Ping. A cold snort exploded around Lu Ping. Hiding your head but showing your tail. You actually dared to plot the inheritance cave of the Ice Python clan. Aren't you afraid of provoking the revenge of my primordial giant crocodile clan? As soon as the voice fell, dozens of miles away, another 2 late-stage core forging cultivators' auras rose and oppressed in the direction of Lu Ping. Lu Ping was very anxious. He accelerated the transmission of true essence to the Gentian Great Formation by 30%. The entire white jade lotus platform erupted with a bright spiritual light. Walala! Like a broken porcelain, the entire Great Formation was finally broken under the attack of the gentian beads. De Bao had already dragged his heavy body towards Lu Ping. Lu Ping's expression stagnated. Although De Bao loved treasures, he had always cherished his life. This time, how many things had he plundered inside that he couldn't even walk steadily? Lu Ping didn't have time to think about the reason. He put De Bao into the spiritual pet bag and Lu Qing and Lu Hai on the side. Now the 3 late-stage core forging cultivators behind him had divided into 3 directions and surrounded Lu Ping. Lu Ping looked at the cave mansion that had been opened to him and cursed fiercely. He turned and ran in the direction of the teleportation array that Taoist Master Ao Yu had secretly set up. Lu Ping's heart was bleeding. Although De Bao had plundered inside before, Lu Ping also saw the big words, Ice Dragon Cave Mansion, engraved on the cave mansion before he left. In addition to the voice of the monster cultivator just now, Lu Ping vaguely guessed that this cave mansion was not only Taoist Master Ao Yu's cave mansion, but also the inheritance of the Ice Dragon clan. Then there must be a lot of treasures in it. Unfortunately, Lu Ping had no time to explore this treasure house. Although De Bao had a spirit-seeking innate talent, this talent was limited in many ways. If a spirit stone and a heaven and earth spirit treasure were placed inside, perhaps it was because of the spirit sealing talisman on the heaven and earth spirit treasure that prevented the heaven and earth spirit treasure's spiritual chi from leaking out, then De Bao might treat the spirit stone as a treasure and ignore the heaven and earth spirit treasure beside it. Lu Ping gave up quickly, but the cultivator chasing behind him was faster. Before Lu Ping could escape, the cultivator with the majestic voice had already roared, "Where are you going? Eat my hammer first." Lu Ping immediately sensed that the opponent's magic treasure had not arrived, but a huge wave of water pressure had already arrived behind Lu Ping. Lu Ping firmly wrapped himself with his divine sense, not daring to turn around to face the enemy, afraid that his identity would be exposed. Just now, the monster cultivators guarding the Ice Dragon Cave Mansion had basically all transformed and were killed by the joint forces of Lu Ping and Samling. The remaining blood condensation monster cultivators would not be able to report the situation here directly to the late core forging cultivators. It must be known that the hierarchy of the monster race was stricter than that of the human race, so Lu Ping's identity had not been exposed yet. The 3 monster cultivators chasing after him must have thought that he was a monster cultivator coveting the inheritance of the Ice Dragon clan. Lu Ping did not look back. He swung the water whip in his hand behind him, and an invisible whirlpool immediately dissolved the heavy water pressure. But immediately afterwards, a meteor hammer larger than Lu Ping's head slammed into Lu Ping's back. Lu Ping's divine sense moved, and his expression changed. The water-controlling flag rose for the third time, and an ink-colored curtain of light hung in front of Lu Ping. At the same time, Lu Ping's six-layered protective magic, the true astral shield, rapidly expanded outwards. Soon, it expanded into an ink-colored curtain of light, which collided with the incoming meteor hammer. Crack! Lu Ping's protective magic was dented by the meteor hammer, and cracks appeared on the protective aura shield. Lu Ping's chest tightened, and he instantly removed the protection of his aura shield. Then, under the powerful thrust of the meteor hammer, he quickly fled. After the meteor hammer retracted the protective aura shield, it immediately hit the ink-colored curtain of the water-controlling flag. Lu Ping's divine sense seemed to have suffered a heavy blow, and he almost revealed a flaw, allowing the demonic practitioners behind him to discover his human identity. The water-controlling flag was indeed from the hands of Jiao Yuqiang, who was once the first person under the Dharma Adept of the North Sea. Although it was damaged, the top psychic magic weapon condensed with the six treasures restriction still blocked the flying meteor hammer outside the ink-colored curtain of light. However, Lu Ping was once again hit by the impact and almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, his physical body was now strong, and he managed to take advantage of the impact of the meteor hammer to activate his escape magic, temporarily escaping from the line of sight of the demonic practitioners behind him. Where else can you escape to? Hand over the inheritance of the Ice Dragon clan, and the primordial giant crocodile clan may spare your life. Lu Ping escaped from the valley, turned a few cracks on the seabed, and wiped open a small teleportation array covered with sea mud and seaweed. He sprinkled a handful of spirit stones on the teleportation array, and stamped his feet, and the teleportation array flashed. Just as the teleportation array was about to start, Lu Ping suddenly jumped out of the teleportation array, but he had already put on the stone armor again, and on his head was the water-repellent moonlight pearl. He turned around a seabed valley and disappeared without a trace. When the three late-stage core forging cultivators found the teleportation array in the crack on the seabed, the teleportation array that had just been activated was slowly extinguishing. The three demonic practitioners' faces changed drastically, and one of them stepped in front of the teleportation array, looked down, and said coldly, "Oh no, this is the teleportation array that teleports to the outside of the deep-sea demonic territory. That person is very likely to be a human cultivator." The person who spoke was obviously the demonic practitioner who attacked Lu Ping with the meteor hammer. Another demonic practitioner suddenly said, "No wonder this person has been attaching his divine sense to his body, and did not let us see his face. I am afraid that his identity as a human will be exposed." The third demonic practitioner asked, "What should we do now?" The first demonic practitioner gritted his teeth and said, "Chase, we must not let this person escape." The teleportation array flashed again, and the spiritual light disappeared. The previous three late-stage core forging cultivators had disappeared from the deep-sea demonic territory. Chapter 454. The banquet on Golden Flood Dragon Island had already ended. Golden Flood Dragon Island Lord, Ao Chuang, was sitting at the banquet where Taoist Master Ao Yu was being held. No one knew what he was thinking. From behind the screen behind Golden Flood Dragon Island Lord, a burly man with an ugly face walked out. He approached Golden Flood Dragon Island Lord and said in a low voice, "Father, Ao Yu has already left Golden Flood Dragon Island." "Yes, I know." Golden Flood Dragon Island Lord replied indifferently. "Father knows? Then why?" the burly man asked in puzzlement. Golden Flood Dragon Island Lord Ao Chuang glanced at the burly man from the corner of his eyes and said, "Is there anything on this island that I don't know? Since Ao Yu suspects that the intruder is a human, then he naturally has his reasons. We only need to save his life when Tian Shui finds him." The burly man seemed to understand and asked, Father, are you guessing that there is a secret path that connects to the deep-sea demon region, and Aou knows about it? Golden Flood Dragon Island Lord Ao Chuang sneered. Back then, Yin Chu Chu and Li Xianyin got together. How could Yin Chu Chu enter and exit the deep-sea demon region without being discovered by the humans and demons? Huanyu Island is not a secret realm, but a secret teleportation array. The burly man's heart skipped a beat and he said, then could this place really have been exposed to the humans? Golden Flood Dragon Island Lord looked at his son helplessly, but he still explained, no, if the intruder is really a human, then the secret of the teleportation array must have been accidentally discovered by him. Otherwise, Jinling would not have exposed the secret of the teleportation array so easily. Although Yin Chu Chu was secretly in love with Li Xianyin, she did not betray the demon race. She told Li Xianyin about the teleportation array she built in secret to meet her lover, but she would never have thought that her own brother would betray her and let Xianling's Dao Shi know about her identity. Naturally, Dao Shi was overjoyed and wanted to kill the two before revealing Yin Chu Chu's identity as a demon to make Jinling suffer in silence. Who would have thought that Yin Chu Chu would be so strong-willed as to explode her dragon ice pearl in order for her lover to escape? There was some admiration on the burly man's face. He said that Li Xianyin is too cowardly. He actually abandoned his wife and escaped alone. He still has the face to live until now. However, to be able to muster the courage to assassinate Dao Shi this time, he can be considered a man even before his death. But why did Aou betray his sister? And why is Aou surnamed Ao, while his sister's surname is Yin? Moreover, if Aou wanted to scheme against Li Xianyin, why would he wait for such a long time? I heard that Aou obtained the treasure from the East Sea. No matter what, he is about to achieve an 8th grade golden core. Why didn't he make a move after refining the treasure? That way, his chances of success would be higher. Perhaps Dao Shi Laozu would have already perished at their hands. The Golden Flood Dragon Island Lord smiled calmly. There was no trace of the previous generosity he had when he invited Aou. He said, you don't have the qualifications to know about the matters of the Ice Dragon clan. As for why Aou made a move now, it's because Li Xianyin is about to achieve the Dharma realm. At that time, even if Aou refines the treasure and achieves an 8th grade golden core, and achieves the Dharma realm, even if his strength is above Li Xuanyin's, it won't be easy to kill him. Seeing the burly man in front of him scratching his head in confusion, the Golden Flood Dragon Island Lord waved his hand with waning interest. He said, when you advance to the Dharma realm one day, you will understand. Aou firmly believed that the person who broke into his cave dwelling and killed his beloved son was definitely a human cultivator. Moreover, he must have entered the deep-sea demon region through his secret teleportation array. Then, this person would definitely escape from here. He wanted to kill the murderer who almost ended the Ice Dragon clan's inheritance here, even if he had to take the risk of being discovered by Tian Shui of Huanyu Island, because he believed that the primordial giant crocodile clan would definitely send someone to save him. The teleportation array in front of him finally lit up. Aou immediately became excited. At that time, he and Li Xianyin had joined hands to heavily injure Dao Shi Laozu. When they gained the upper hand, they suddenly counterattacked and killed Li Xianyin. He was also this excited. A cold ice pearl wrapped in a strange cold mist slowly rose from the top of Aou's head. If Lu Ping was here, he would definitely know that this was another ice dragon pearl. Moreover, the power displayed by this ice dragon pearl was simply incomparable to the ice dragon pearl that Ao Wushuang used. This was a great divine ability of the Ice Dragon clan. It required the Ice Dragon Pearl unique to the Ice Dragon clan to be used. Aou was confident that he could use this great divine ability to heavily injure any late-stage core forging cultivator who was caught off guard. Even Li Xianyin, who had formed a 7th grade golden core, was heavily injured by this inherited divine ability before being killed by Aou. However, after the teleportation array's light faded, no one appeared above the teleportation array. This caused Aou to be startled. However, the teleportation array's light flickered again. Aou didn't make any more guesses. Right now, he was ready to use his great divine ability at any time. He wouldn't destroy the teleportation array and cause an accident to happen to the person who came. Instead, he wanted to personally dismember the person who killed his beloved son into 1,000 pieces. The teleportation array's light flickered and revealed a human figure. This time, there was no mistake. The great divine ability in Taoist Master Aou's hand turned into a sky full of frost and icicles, covering the sky and covering the earth as they shot towards the people in the teleportation array. Not good, that bastard is sneaking an attack. This person is actually a 9th layer core forging cultivator. No, it's Aou. Fucking stop, it's one of us. Ah. When Aou used his great divine ability, he felt that something was wrong. There were actually 3 people teleporting over, and all 3 of them were late-stage core forging cultivators. Even if he could seriously injure one of them, with the remaining 2 joining hands, he wouldn't be able to do anything in a short period of time. At that time, it would definitely alarm Tian Shui, and he would be doomed. Thinking of this, Aou turned around and was about to leave first. Unexpectedly, the people who teleported over were cursing and screaming. Aou was startled. They were actually demon race cultivators. Could it be that the North Sea demon race was finally going to make a move on the Ice Dragon clan? Aou's heart immediately surged with sorrow, but he quickly denied it. If the demon race was going to make a move, these 3 people would definitely not appear here. Thinking of this, Aou stopped in his tracks. At this moment, Lu Ping's great divine ability had already subsided. Among the 3 people who teleported over, one was already on the verge of death, and the other was also injured and vomiting blood. They were in a sorry state. They were just ordinary late-stage core forging cultivators, and they thought that the person they were chasing was a human mid-stage core forging cultivator. Even though they had made preparations before teleporting over, they didn't expect that there would be a late-stage core forging cultivator of their own race using a great divine ability to ambush them. The only one who wasn't injured was the primordial giant crocodile race cultivator who used the meteor hammer to chase after Lu Ping. This cultivator's eyes flashed with a murderous glint, and he spoke to Aou in a cold voice, "Aou, I need an explanation. Otherwise, wait for my primordial giant crocodile race's demon king to interrogate you." Aou frowned, and a cold glint flashed in his eyes. However, he asked in surprise, "Aou, why are you here?" Aou was the primordial giant crocodile race cultivator who used the meteor hammer. He sneered and said, "Why are we here? Your lair was raided, and we chased the human race cultivator here, but we were killed by you. I still want to ask you, why are you here, and how do you know about this teleportation array that connects to the deep-sea demon territory?" Aou recalled the first teleportation light that lit up, but there was no one inside. He suddenly came to a realization and said, "I have been waiting here, and no human race cultivator has appeared." The other injured cultivator pointed at Aou and scolded, "Nonsense. We have been tracking this human cultivator all this time. Our divine senses have never been cut off." He stepped onto this teleportation array and activated the teleportation. By the time we arrived, he had already teleported here. It was only a short while. If you had been waiting here all this time, how could you not have noticed? Aou said coldly, "Do you think I would let the murderer of my son escape?" The beast cultivator was stunned, and then snorted coldly, "That's hard to say. Didn't you sell your own sister just like that? You even changed your surname to Ao. Tui, cheap wretch." Aou frowned and shouted, "Brother Zhang, be careful with your words." The cultivator who spoke before also didn't believe that Aou would let the murderer go. He was just angry that he was hit by Aou's great spell for nothing, so he said those words out of anger. At this time, he also knew that it was inappropriate. After Aou heard the words of the beast cultivator surnamed Zhang, a burning evil fire broke through the top of his head. However, his mind was still gloomy, and he forcibly suppressed this humiliation. Then, as if he thought of something, his expression changed, and he said, "Not good, we can't stay here for long. If you don't want to die, quickly go back." The beast cultivator surnamed Zhang was still a bit confused, but Ao Li somewhat understood and asked, "Where is this place?" Ao, you didn't have time to answer. A few high-grade spirit stones had already been inserted into the teleportation array. However, the teleportation array just started to flicker, and then it was extinguished. Ao Yu stood up expressionlessly. At this time, the beast cultivator surnamed Zhang seemed to have understood something. He said coldly, "That kid didn't leave the demon abyss, and the teleportation array in the demon abyss has been destroyed?" Ao Yu sneered, "That's a small matter. I'm worried that the four of us won't be able to escape now. Hee, I didn't expect that Laozu would have such luck today. Look who this is. Isn't this my martial nephew Xian Yin's brother-in-law, Daoist Inu? What's wrong? After selling your sister and brother-in-law, are you going to sell yourself as well?" "That's right, this Laozu will take it all today." A middle-aged woman had unknowingly arrived at the bottom of the sea. She was standing not far behind them. Not counting the beast cultivator who was on his last breath, none of the 3 late-stage core forging beast cultivators were able to detect her presence. Tian Shui Laozu. The beast cultivator surnamed Zhang's expression was mournful, and his eyes were already filled with despair. Ao Li also didn't expect to be in such a situation. Although he knew that there was only a slim chance of survival, he still held the meteor hammer in his hand, ready to fight to the death. Only Ao Yu's expression was calm, but his eyes were constantly flickering, as if he was calculating something. Chapter 455. At that moment, Lu Ping left a hidden spot not too far away from the valley where Ice Drake's cave abode was with a look of disappointment on his face. When the relocation rune lit up again, he knew that his trick had been seen through, and he could only destroy the relocation rune. This time, he trapped himself in the deep sea of demonic region. Lu Ping knew that even if he did not destroy the relocation rune, the demonic beast cultivators would, and they would not give him the chance to do so. Lu Ping had originally wanted to return to Ice Drake's cave abode and ransack it again, but he found that the cave abode had long since been protected by the demonic beast cultivators who had rushed over after hearing the news. Lu Ping looked at the orderly demonic beast cultivators outside Ice Drake's cave abode and could not help but find it a little strange. Based on the nature of the demonic beast, even if this cave abode was created by a demonic beast cultivator, once it was opened and no one was guarding it, it would still be robbed. Since when did the demonic beast cultivators learn to accept the rules? Right now, he could only hide in the deep sea of demonic region for a while. Fortunately, Lu Ping was dressed in stone armor, and he had the water and moon repelling pearl with him. As long as he did not run into any demonic beast cultivators, he would not have to worry about anyone tracking him down. Lu Ping thought about it, then decided to summon De Gui. De Gui had come to the deep sea of demonic region before, and he was relatively familiar with the situation there. The man and the turtle swam towards the depths of a mountain range at the bottom of the sea. Due to the relocation rune, there was a high possibility that Lu Ping's identity would be suspected to be that of a human cultivator. If that happened, even Lu Ping himself knew very well just how great of a storm it would cause in the deep sea of demonic region. It had been 400 to 500 years since Dao Kong Laozu had charged into the deep sea of demonic region alone and escaped unscathed. Since then, not a single human cultivator had been able to leave the deep sea of demonic region alive, and it was after that incident that Dao Kong Laozu had secured his throne as the strongest cultivator in Northern Sea. Later on, he even survived his disaster and became the only cultivator in the later stage of core forging in Northern Sea. Lu Ping clearly did not have Dao Kong Laozu's ability to charge into the deep sea of demonic region by force. He could only hide here and there, and perhaps there would be some hope. Ao Yu's reputation as the Ice Drake's last hope was not undeserved. Otherwise, he would not have been favored by the primordial giant crocodile race, or he would not have been favored by the primordial giant crocodile. They would have given him the heaven middle grade heaven do they had obtained from Eastern Sea. Thus, when Tian Shui Laozu attacked, Aou thought that even though Tian Shui Laozu was a mid-Dharma adept, and even though Aou Li's abilities were not as great as Li Li's, there was still a demon cultivator surnamed Zhang helping him. Even if the rest of them were not his match, Aou still had the confidence to escape. However, reality was cruel. Tian Shui Laozu had merely attacked casually. Even though everyone had used all of their strength to resist, the result was that the demon cultivator surnamed Zhang had died on the spot. Aou Li was on the verge of death. If Aou did not have the ice drake pearl that had been passed down for thousands of years, he would not be much stronger than Aou Li. Even so, Aou spat out a few pieces of blood-red ice. As for the other demon cultivator that Aou had accidentally injured, he had already turned into a pile of ice on the seabed. Tian Shui Laozu clapped her hands, giving Aou Li and Aou a huge shock. They thought that Tian Shui Laozu was going to attack again. However, they heard Tian Shui Laozu chuckle. Aou Li and Aou felt their scalps go numb. How many years had it been since they last experienced such a feeling where their life and death were in the hands of their opponent? However, Tian Shui Laozu did not make a move in the end. Instead, she turned to the side and smiled. Aou Chuang, how much longer are you going to wait there? Aou Li looked at Tian Shui Laozu's line of sight in astonishment. However, there was no one in his line of sight. Aou's expression relaxed. Obviously, he had already expected something. Senior Tian Shui has sharp eyes. However, this junior has just arrived. Previously, Senior had displayed your remarkable abilities. It's a pity that I didn't have the opportunity to appreciate it. At the seabed, a golden door flickered. From it, a majestic man walked out. If it wasn't the Golden Flood Dragon Island Master, Aou Chuang, who else could it be? Aou Li cried out in surprise, "Big brother." However, just as he finished speaking, he coughed continuously and vomited out a few mouthfuls of blood. Aou Chuang didn't even look at Aou Li as he said, "This time, Senior Tian Shui disregarded our agreement and made a move against a low-level cultivator. You have broken the rules." Tian Shui Laozu sneered, "This old lady has already made a move. What are you going to do about it?" Aou Chuang's expression changed as he said, "Senior doesn't see the big picture. Could it be that you are forcing us to slaughter the Zhenling disciples?" Tian Shui Laozu chuckled, "Aou Chuang, you don't have to play such tricks with me. This Aou killed my martial nephew Xian Yin. Even if I want him to pay with his life, what's wrong with that?" As such, Dao friend Tian Shui didn't manage to kill Aou in a single strike. This matter shall end here. The one who spoke was an Aou Chuang. Tian Shui's expression finally turned solemn as she spoke coldly, "Giant whale demonic King Kong Jing, I didn't expect you to come as well." From afar, a huge sea current surged over. When the sea current reached the front of everyone, it strangely stopped. A huge man that was even more muscular than the Golden Flood Dragon Island Master, Aou Chuang, appeared in front of everyone and said, "Since Dao friend Tian Shui is here, how could Kong Jing not be here? I'm afraid Xian Ling Sect's Dao Yen is about to arrive as well." Hee, thanks for Dao friend Kong's concern. Dao Yen is late by a step, please forgive me. As soon as he finished speaking, a middle-aged scholar appeared not far away from Tian Shui Laozu. Compared to Tian Lin Laozu's elegance, Xian Ling Sect's Dao Yen Laozu had a wild and unrestrained demeanor from the start. All of a sudden, for Dharma Laozu had gathered. Aou Li, who was watching from the side, felt a little guilty. Even if Aou had predicted the appearance of Tian Shui and Aou Chuang, he wouldn't have thought that there would be two more Laozu. Moreover, they were both Dharma Laozu in the middle stage. Aou had now deeply experienced how terrifying a Dharma Laozu in the middle stage was. Aou's expression was much calmer than Aou Li's, but in his heart, he wasn't confident at all. From the looks of it, among the human race cultivators, the two Dharma Laozu seemed to have the upper hand. However, the feud between Zhenling and Xianling sect had been going on for a long time. No one dared to guarantee that the other party wouldn't play any tricks behind their backs. The demon race might seem weaker, but the Northern Sea demon race, the primordial giant crocodile, was the strongest. Although there were high-level races like the ice dragon and the flood dragon whale, they were still unable to challenge the primordial giant crocodile's prestige. The demon race had a strict hierarchy, but they were all united. When the giant whale demon king saw Daoyan Laozu appear, he directly walked past Tian Shui Laozu and asked, "Daoyan, what do you think?" Daoyan Laozu naturally wouldn't fall for it. He laughed and said, "Senior sister Tian Shui taking revenge for her martial nephew is pardonable. However, since she didn't manage to kill this Aou with a single strike, she naturally wouldn't make another move." Ao Chuang laughed coldly, "So you're saying that the two late-stage core forging realm cultivators of my demon race died in vain?" Just as Ao Chuang's voice landed, the giant whale demon king's expression turned ugly. Tian Shui didn't give in and said, "You want to pay with your life for killing? Fine, I'm right here. If you have the ability, then kill me." As a woman, Tian Shui Laozu was famous for being shrewd. Otherwise, how would she be able to reach the mid-stage Dharma realm as a woman? Otherwise, before Tian Fan Laozu achieved Dharma realm, he wouldn't have the reputation of being henpecked. After both of them advanced into the Dharma realm, their prestige in the Northern Seas cultivation world grew day by day. That was why no one dared to talk behind their backs. Thus, Tian Fan Laozu's reputation of being henpecked was no longer mentioned. "I think that senior sister Tian Shui should be teaching your clan a lesson." At this moment, Daoyan Laozu's eyes flickered with radiance. He pointed at the teleportation array on the ground and interrupted, "Where does this teleportation array lead to? Who built it? Why are the few of you here? I don't need to say any more, right?" The few Laozu's gazes were all fixed on Aou. Aou was quick-witted. He stretched out his hand and swiped at the seabed. Immediately, the teleportation array turned into a pile of rocks. The great whale demon king gave a muffled snort. "Today's matter ends here. However, I don't know which North Sea sect that little fellow is trapped in the deep sea demon territory. His cultivation is at the mid-core forging stage. What courage!" After saying that, the giant whale demon king left without even turning his head back. Only the seawater was left in turmoil because of his departure. Ao Li and Aou almost couldn't stand still. As for Tian Shui Laozu and Daoyan Laozu, they didn't bat an eyelid at the giant whale demon king's parting words. Ao Chuang knew that it would be hard for him to obtain any benefits from today's matter. He sneered and said to Tian Shui Laozu, "I heard that the disciple of your sect's mysterious Yin Demon King is also of my demon race's bloodline. I believe that your sect and my clan should cooperate more often." After saying that, he laughed and left. Ao Li and Aou hurriedly followed after him. Tian Shui Laozu's expression changed. Then, she heard Daoyan Laozu laughing as if he had discovered something new. "Senior sister Tian Shui, your sect is indeed full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. My Xianling sect is truly ashamed of our inferiority." Tian Shui Laozu's heart sank. She sneered, "Daoyan, you actually believe this kind of sowing discord?" Daoyan Laozu shook his head, "I don't believe in sowing discord. However, this demon's descendant cannot be left alive. I believe that your sect wouldn't become enemies with the entire Northern Seas cultivation world just because of a demon's descendant, right?" Tian Shui Laozu snorted coldly, "Daoyan, what are you going to do?" Daoyan Laozu didn't reply. With a flash, he disappeared from the seabed, leaving behind Tian Shui Laozu's expression fluctuating. After a long time, she let out a sigh and disappeared from the seabed as well. At this moment, within a mountain range in the deep sea demon region, Lu Ping, with De Bao's help, had emptied the underground of a mountain range. Furthermore, he even found a miniature spiritual vein within the mountain, causing Lu Ping to exclaim in admiration at the richness of the sea region. Thus, he temporarily hid here. However, when Lu Ping saw the things that Debeo brought out from the ice dragon's cave, his expression couldn't help but turn black. Chapter 456. With the help of Debeo, Lu Ping built a temporary underground cave in a mountain range in the deep-sea demon domain. Lu Ping didn't have time to recover from his internal injuries. He couldn't wait to ask Debeo to take out the treasures he obtained from the ice dragon's cave. However, when he saw Debeo take out the items from the storage bag tied under his chin, Lu Ping's face instantly darkened. Crash! Debeo poured the contents of the storage bag onto the ground like a treasure. The originally bulging storage bag immediately deflated. Lu Ping looked at the things on the ground and said bitterly, "Debeo, is this all?" Debeo blinked innocently. He didn't understand what Lu Ping meant. However, he had been with Lu Ping for the longest time, so he seemed to feel that Lu Ping was a little disappointed. Lu Ping was more than a little disappointed. Looking at the spirit stones on the ground, he was greatly disappointed. A 500-year-old spirit herb or a low-grade spirit stone. Which one was more valuable? As long as one was a cultivator, they should choose a 500-year-old spirit herb. However, this matter was a little special for Debeo. Debeo's spirit-seeking mouse's innate ability was to be extremely sensitive to the fluctuations of spiritual energy emitted from the surface of treasures. Therefore, in Debeo's view, the fluctuations of spiritual energy emitted by a low-grade spirit stone were far stronger than that of a 500-year-old spirit herb. Lu Ping instantly understood the reason for the matter. Therefore, he also understood why Debeo would put all his energy into searching for spirit stones after entering the ice dragon's cave. Lu Ping looked at the low-grade spirit stones on the ground. There were tens of thousands of them. For a blood condensation cultivator, it was a lot, but for a core forging cultivator, it was far from enough. Not to mention, Lu Ping was a big spender of spirit stones. Lu Ping patted Debeo's head and said with some hope, "Debeo, is that all?" Debeo shook the shriveled storage bag, and 30 to 40 upper-grade spirit stones fell out from it. Lu Ping's complexion finally looked a little better. Upper-grade spirit stones were exactly what Lu Ping needed at the moment, whether it was for cultivation or alchemy. Lu Ping's demand for upper-grade spirit stones had always been the more the better. However, after the one-time reward of 500 high-grade spirit stones from the sect, Lu Ping did not feel satisfied with 30 or 40 high-grade spirit stones. Lu Ping squinted at Debeo, chuckled, and said, "Debeo, do you have more?" Big Treasure scratched the storage bag with his claws, and this time, 3 stones that didn't look very special fell out. However, Lu Ping's eyes lit up, and said, "Top-grade spirit stones?" These 3 ordinary-looking stones were the same as the only top-grade spirit stone on Lu Ping's body. Lu Ping picked up the 3 ordinary-looking spirit stones on the ground, and at the same time, his divine sense and Zhen Yuan penetrated into the spirit stones. The vast spirit qi contained in the spirit stones suddenly made Lu Ping happy. Lu Ping immediately thought of the ultra-long distance transmission array under the small pond in the clear stream immortal cave. On the other side of the transmission array was the central continent that Lu Ping had long yearned for. Lu Ping put away the upper-grade spirit stones and the 3 top-grade spirit stones, and then looked at the floor covered with low-grade spirit stones, and said, "Debeo, these are all yours. But you have to hurry up and cultivate. Degui is about to advance to the core forging stage, and when that time comes, you will be the only one left who hasn't transformed." Debeo shook his butt, but this time he didn't squeak and argue with Lu Ping. Lu Ping knew that Debeo was lazy, and no matter how many times he urged him, he didn't lack spirit pills. Even if Debeo's talent wasn't good, he shouldn't have just broken through to the 8th layer of the blood condensation realm. Lu Ping shook his head helplessly, and just as he was about to get up, he saw Debeo take out a sealed jade box from the storage bag. Lu Ping glanced at it and saw that it was just an ordinary box. He didn't pay much attention to it, but Debeo squeaked and rushed to tell him how he got this jade box. Lu Ping's face was immediately filled with curiosity as he asked, "You're saying that this jade box was obtained from a collapsed seal after the ice dragon's cave dwelling's protective array formation was broken?" De Bao nodded with certainty, and Lu Ping's interest was immediately piqued. He picked up the jade box, and found that it was sealed by a very advanced spirit sealing formation. Lu Ping tried a few methods to break the seal, and finally broke the seal on the jade box. After Lu Ping carefully opened the jade box, he immediately knew that he had probably picked up a treasure this time. There was another jade box in the jade box, but it was different from the ordinary jade box on the outside. The jade box inside was a jade box that was carefully carved out of a whole piece of jade essence. This jade box had obviously been refined by a master refiner, and was made into a wonder jade box similar to the wonder jade essence bottle that Jinling had used to store the spirit forging pill. And beside this wonder jade box, there was a purple jade slip. Lu Ping was very familiar with this unique purple jade slip, because Lu Ping also had 2 or 3 purple jade slips that were very similar in style. They were the jade slips that recorded the shapeless sword technique, 12 gentian formation, and flying spirit seat dance technique. There was also the mysterious jade slip that Lu Ping had yet to fully understand. Without exception, these jade slips were all legacies passed down from the flying spirit sect. Lu Ping hesitated for a while, and used his divine sense to immerse into the jade slip. After a long time, he opened his eyes in surprise. This jade slip recorded half a set of refining methods for some kind of elixir, and judging from the vastness of this set of refining methods, this elixir was obviously an extremely complicated elixir for the Dharma stage. But why did the recorded refining methods look so familiar to Lu Ping? Lu Ping suspiciously looked at the contents of the jade slip again. This time, he suddenly realized something. This half of the medicinal pellet concoction technique was similar to Lu Ping's small forging spirit pellet. Unfortunately, this half of the medicinal pellet concoction technique was far more profound than small forging spirit pellet's concoction technique. Lu Ping's heart moved, and he quickly opened the wonder jade essence box inside. He saw a dark blue ball of water spinning in the box, as if it was afraid of Lu Ping. Such a sensitive spiritual nature, Lu Ping had only seen it on the Xianyuan heavy water, and this bowl of spirit water in front of him was even more spiritual than the Xianyuan heavy water. This was a kind of heaven-level spirit water of heaven and earth, without a doubt. What kind of spirit water of heaven and earth could be more spiritual than the Xianyuan heavy water? This was the wonder jade dew, this was definitely the wonder jade dew. Lu Ping immediately thought of something, and his heart jumped violently. Even the golden core in his heart space began to tremble. No, Lu Ping immediately thought of something, and his heart jumped violently. Even the golden core in his heart space began to tremble. This kind of spirit water was too familiar to Lu Ping. It was the same dark blue color, and the same spiritual nature. This was exactly the same as the nameless spirit water of heaven and earth hidden in the 10,000 poison liquid in Lu Ping's house of gold. Was this really the wonder jade dew? Lu Ping was now a little suspicious. If this was really the wonder jade dew, didn't that mean that Lu Ping had obtained this kind of heaven-level mid-grade spirit water in the 7-star heavenly cave when he was still in the blood condensation realm? He had a great treasure in his possession, but he didn't know it. Right now, Lu Ping couldn't tell what kind of feeling he was having. He could only sigh at the wonders of creation. The wonder jade dew was the only kind of spirit water of heaven and earth that could be used as medicine. It had the effect of prolonging one's lifespan and quickly restoring one's true essence. It was the main ingredient of several kinds of 10-year longevity pills in the cultivation world. However, the wonder jade dew itself was born from the 10,000 poison liquid, which was a natural wonder that contained tens of thousands of poisons in the world. It took Lu Ping a long time to calm down from the excitement of obtaining the myriad wonder jade dew. But then, he suddenly thought of something. This set of medicinal pellets was hidden in the jade box along with the myriad wonder jade dew. Could it be that this set of medicinal pellets actually recorded the method to refine the spirit forging pellet? Aou also had his eyes on the spirit forging pill. Although this half of the pill refining method didn't record the spirit herbs needed to refine the spirit forging pill, the process of condensing the pill, and the process of refining the pill, it only recorded the refining process before using the purification technique. This was already a big surprise for Lu Ping. With the addition of the myriad wondered jade dew from the Golden House's limestone vat, Lu Ping already had 1.5 portions of the myriad wondered jade dew in his possession. Not only did he have the spirit herb recipe for the spirit forging pellet, but he also had the first half of the pellet concoction method. It could be said that Lu Ping had inadvertently become the closest alchemist to successfully concocting the spirit forging pellet after Fei Ling's sect. Lu Ping took a deep breath and suppressed the surprise in his heart. He solemnly put away the jade box and jade slip into his storage ring. If it weren't for the fact that the myriad wonder dew was extremely rare, Lu Ping was confident that with his alchemy skills, he would be able to successfully concoct the second half of the spirit forging pellet after he became a grandmaster alchemist. With the first half of the pellet recipe and enough spirit herbs, he would be able to concoct the second half of the spirit forging pellet after a few attempts. Unfortunately, the Wonder Jade Dew itself was a kind of spiritual water that was even rarer than a high-grade heaven-rank spiritual item. In addition to its various magical effects, especially in the area of prolonging one's life, how could Lu Ping be willing to use this kind of treasure to practice? Moreover, Lu Ping himself was clear that when he advanced to the middle stage of the core forging realm, he had successfully refined the Xianyuan heavy water by chance. So, when Lu Ping advanced to the late stage of the core forging realm, there was no reason for him to refine a spiritual item that was inferior to the Xianyuan heavy water. But now, was there a spiritual item that was more suitable than the mid-grade heaven-rank Wonder Jade Dew? The East Sea Demon clan had delivered the Wonder Jade Dew, and the Crystal Palace had listed out the spirit herbs needed to refine the spirit forging pill and handed them over to the various sects in the North Sea. Now, Lu Ping had found the first half of the spirit forging pill refining method from Dao Master Aou. Although Lu Ping didn't know what price Xinling and Xianling sect had paid to obtain the list of spirit herbs needed to refine the spirit forging pill from the Crystal Palace, and what kind of compromise they had made, he didn't know how Dao Master Aou had obtained the first half of the spirit forging pill refining method, and why the East Sea Demon clan had delivered the Wonder Jade Dew to him. However, he seemed to have sensed that an invisible wave had been set off in the North Sea's cultivation world. However, Lu Ping had once heard from Fornax Laozu that the spirit forging pill was one of the many factors that led to the destruction of Fei Ling's sect. Chapter 457. After obtaining the Wonder Dew, Lu Ping no longer felt depressed because Debao only remembered to collect spirit stones. Just the Wonder Dew alone was worth Lu Ping's trip to the Deep Sea Demon territory. Although Lu Ping let Debao go, he still decided to teach Debao some common sense of the cultivation world, especially about the identification of some treasures. However, it seemed that Lu Ping could only carry out this plan when Debao advanced to the core forging stage. Lu Ping called Samling out, and then took out the Ice Dragon Pearl from Ao Wushuang. When Lu Linger saw the Ice Dragon Pearl in Lu Ping's hand, her big eyes showed eagerness. Lu Ping said with a smile, "Linger, why do you seem to know a lot about the Ice Dragon Pearl?" All of Lu Linger's attention was attracted by the Ice Dragon Pearl. Hearing this, she nodded, but her big eyes were still looking at the Ice Dragon Pearl. She said, "Father, not only Linger knows, but sister and brother also know. This is something that comes from the bloodline inheritance of our green sea snake. But unfortunately, the Ice Dragon clan has always cultivated the Ice Attribute cultivation method, and the Ice Dragon Pearl is a unique inheritance method of the Ice Dragon clan, so this Ice Dragon Pearl is only useful for Linger who cultivates the Ice Attribute cultivation method." Oh, Lu Ping handed the Ice Dragon Pearl to Lu Linger and asked with great interest, "There is such a thing? Can you tell father what is going on? How can the inheritance of the Ice Dragon clan be inherited by a little fellow like you, a green sea snake?" Lu Linger received the Ice Dragon Pearl as if it was a treasure. She giggled and sent her divine sense into the Ice Dragon Pearl. Lu Ping looked at Lu Linger's impatient look and found it funny. Lu Qing shook his head helplessly. Then Lu Ping asked and explained, Father, do you know that the Ice Dragon clan is the same as us green sea snakes? We also have the bloodline of the Flood Dragon. Lu Ping naturally knew that the bloodline of the Ice Dragon clan must be related to the bloodline of the Green Sea Snake, but Lu Qing's next words surprised Lu Ping. But father may not know that although the Ice Dragon clan inherited the bloodline of the Flood Dragon, they are not the bloodline of the Flood Dragon Laozu. This was a secret that Lu Ping didn't know. Lu Ping asked in doubt, is there such a thing? Aren't all the creatures in this world descendants of the seventh patriarch? Why is the Ice Dragon clan an exception? Could it be that at the beginning of this world, besides the seventh patriarch, there was another Laozu? In fact, when a cultivator advanced to the legendary spirit transformation stage, after achieving the true spirit realm, they could condense an inheritance in their own bloodline for their direct descendants. However, this bloodline inheritance often didn't last more than 3 generations. Because of the thinning of the bloodline, they would lose the opportunity to inherit it. Unless one of the descendants reached the spirit transformation stage before the 3rd generation, then the bloodline inheritance could be extended for another 3 generations. Otherwise, if no one in the 3rd generation reached the true spirit realm, then this inheritance would be cut off. However, this restriction was invalid for the direct descendants of the 7th patriarch of this world. For tens of thousands of years, as long as these direct descendants didn't become extinct like the Woodluan clan, then their bloodline inheritance would not be cut off because no one reached the true spirit realm and reached the spirit transformation stage. This was also the origin of the top spirit beasts in the monster clan, such as the green sea snake and the primordial giant crocodile that inherited the bloodline of the flood dragon, the Kuan fish that inherited the bloodline of the Peng, the fire Luan and Woodluan that inherited the bloodline of the Luan, and the Ba Gui that inherited the bloodline of the tortoise. Top spirit beasts meant that they were the direct descendants of the 7th patriarch of the world and that their bloodline inheritance would not be cut off. However, among these top spirit beasts, there was an alternative race. They were not the direct descendants of the 7th patriarch of the world, but their bloodline inheritance had never been cut off. This was the Ice Dragon clan. After listening to Lu Qing's explanation, Lu Ping knew that there was such a secret behind the 7th patriarch of the world. Not all creatures in this world had the bloodline of the 7th patriarch of the world. Only the top spirit beasts of the monster clan inherited the bloodline of the 7th patriarch. So he said with some understanding, so, the inheritance of the Ice Dragon clan lies in this Ice Dragon Pearl? At this time, Lu Ling's divine sense had already withdrawn from the Ice Dragon clan. She said with a smile, Father is so smart, but the Ice Dragon Pearl is only a means for the Ice Dragon clan to perfect the inheritance. The so-called bloodline inheritance, in addition to the inheritance of the cultivation methods of the predecessors, is the bloodline, or the inheritance of talent and aptitude. The Ice Dragon clan's Laozu followed Jiao Laozu and was fortunate to receive Jiao Laozu's guidance. He was able to pass on the talent and aptitude of the Ice Dragon clan from generation to generation like the other descendants of the 7th patriarch. However, the cultivation methods could not be inherited along with the bloodline. However, the Ice Dragon clan's Laozu was also a talented genius, so he thought of the Ice Dragon Pearl as a way of inheritance to complete the inheritance of the Ice Dragon clan, making the Ice Dragon clan ranked among the top spirit beasts of the monster clan. Lu Ping seemed to have understood a little and tried to guess, although the Ice Dragon Pearl of the Ice Dragon clan has solved the problem of inheritance, this Ice Dragon Pearl can't be inherited like the inheritance of other top spirit beasts. Because of this, I am afraid that the Ice Dragon Pearl will attract the coveting of other clans. This may be the reason why the Ice Dragon Pearl is now only Aou and Ao Wushuang. Lu Hai smiled and said, Father is really amazing, you even thought of this. But the strange thing is that the Ice Dragon clan was originally surnamed Yin. Why did they change their surname to Ao? The surname Ao is a surname that only the primordial giant crocodile has. However, the original surname of our green sea snake is Chu, but we are all willing to follow father's surname Lu. Lu Ping was shocked. Wasn't Xian Chu surnamed Yin? It seemed that Xian Chu was really the biological son of martial uncle Li Xianyin. He just didn't know if Xian Chu understood his identity and the relationship between him and the Black Yin immortal. As for the Green Sea snake surnamed Chu, Lu Ping had already known it when he was in the East Sea. Lu Qing continued Lu Hai's words and said, "Father's guess is right. Although the Ice Dragon clan ranks among the top demon clans by virtue of the Ice Dragon Pearl, the Ice Dragon clan is not the direct bloodline of the seventh patriarch, so we, the descendants of the seventh patriarch, do not regard the Ice Dragon clan as the same kind, and ordinary demon clans also isolate the Ice Dragon clan because the Ice Dragon clan is not the descendant of the seventh patriarch, which makes the Ice Dragon clan's status among the demon clans become awkward. In addition, the inheritance of the Ice Dragon clan in the Ice Dragon Pearl can be obtained by the demon clans who practice the Ice attribute cultivation method. Therefore, the low-level practitioners of the Ice Dragon clan are often assassinated by other demon clans to seize the Ice Dragon Pearl in order to seize the inheritance of the Ice Dragon clan. This situation has been going on for tens of thousands of years. In my inherited memory, the Ice Dragon clan has been extinct in the cultivation world thousands of years ago. Unexpectedly, there is still a bloodline in the North Sea, and it seems that they are protected by the primordial giant crocodile clan. Humph, it seems that the primordial giant crocodile clan has not given up the rumor among the demon clans for tens of thousands of years. Lu Ping asked curiously, "Rumor? What rumor?" Lu Hai scratched his head and said, "It is said that the ancestors of the Ice Dragon clan, who followed Jiao Laozu, knew a big secret about the seventh patriarch. In those days, both the practitioners of the human clan and the demon clan wanted to get this secret. They all thought that this secret must be passed down from generation to generation in the Ice Dragon Pearl of the Ice Dragon clan, so they started a crazy hunt for the younger generation of the Ice Dragon clan. However, they never found out. After a long time, everyone thought that this might be just a scam. The Ice Dragon clan did not get the secret of the seventh patriarch, but some people did not give up. Coupled with the temptation of the Ice Dragon Pearl, the Ice Dragon clan gradually disappeared in the cultivation world. At this time, Lu Ping's curiosity was also aroused by Samling's words. He asked, "Oh, do you know what this secret is about the seventh patriarch?" Lu Ping shook his little head like a rattle drum and said, "I don't know. Maybe when our cultivation is higher and the seal of the inherited memory is opened more, we will know more." Lu Ping nodded, turned to Lu Linger and asked with a smile, "Linger, tell father, what inheritance did you get from the Ice Dragon Pearl this time?" Lu Linger wrinkled her little nose and said with dissatisfaction, "This Ao Wushuang is really useless. He has a cultivation of the 6th level of the core forging realm, but he only unlocked the seal of the Ice Dragon Pearl to the late stage of the core forging realm. Moreover, many of the Ice Dragon clan's inherited secret skills were not unlocked. Obviously, he was not strong enough. No wonder he was so easily killed by father." But then Lu Linger said happily, "But Ling-er still found a lot of useful things in the inheritance that can be opened in the Ice Dragon Pearl, which will be of great help to Ling-er's future cultivation. Especially the Ice Dragon Pearl itself is a kind of inheritance treasure of the Ice Dragon clan. It has accumulated the essence of Ao Wushuang's cultivation for hundreds of years. Although it is not as good as his gold core, it is still of great help to Ling-er's cultivation." Lu Ping nodded with relief, and then asked with some confusion, "Will these inheritances be treated differently according to the cultivator's strength?" Lu Linger sniffed and said unhappily, "That's right. Every top-grade race cultivator's inheritance is unlocked according to the cultivator's own strength. Bystanders can't help with this, unless a cultivator of the same race who cultivates the same cultivation method dictates the contents of the inheritance that has not been unlocked. However, even if the cultivator knows the content, he or she will not be able to cultivate it successfully. This is the magic of bloodline inheritance. The greater the ability, the greater the harvest. Things like reaping without sowing rarely happen. Therefore, in order to unlock all the inheritance that they can use, the top-grade demon clan cultivators have to cultivate very hard. This is also an important reason why, in addition to their aptitude, the top-grade demon clan cultivators can maintain their advantage in strength among the demon clan. Lu Ping nodded secretly, but then asked curiously, Ling, how is the bloodline inheritance of you and your sister unlocked? Lu Hai smiled proudly, patted his chest and said, Father, don't worry, our bloodline inheritance has been opened to the late stage of core forging, unlike that waste Ao Wushuang. Moreover, all the secret techniques and magical powers that we can use have been opened, and nothing has been left out. Lu Ping nodded with satisfaction, then took out a storage magic tool and said with a smile, then let's see what treasures the last prince of the Ice Dragon clan has in his hands.